Yes, case number 48 on the calendar in the matter of Brown versus Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Brown, the defendant is your son, right? Is that right? Are those prescription glasses, sir?
Yes, ma'am, very much so.
Well, would you take them off, please? Because if you have to read anything, I'll let you put them back on. Very good.
They're not for reading, they're for seeing you, Your Honor.
Well, put them back on again for a second, sir. Take a good look. Now take them off. Mrs. Brown, your lawsuit seeks return of money for several things. The first thing is bail money that you claim that you loaned to your son at some point. The second thing is for mortgage payments on a house that you are currently living in. And from what I gather from your complaint, there was some sort of an arrangement that your son would make the mortgage payments on this house, and ultimately the house would belong to him. You would live in the house, take care of your grandson, your son, correct? And then there was some sort of an altercation with your son, you put him out of the house, and you believe that he should continue to make the mortgage payments on the house as per your agreement.
No.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that.
I am only asking for a mortgage, well, it's not just mortgage, it's household expenses for the month of August, which he lived in my house. That was August of 2001 was the last month that he lived in my house, and he did not pay anything.
Okay, so it's just for 1 month.
It's just for 1 month. That's $1,500 for the household expenses because that was our agreement.
How much was the mortgage payment?
$758.
Okay. How much was the bail?
The bail was $1,000.
And you have proof of that?
Yes, I have a bank statement here where I took the money out of the bank.
No, I need the bail statement, not where you took the money out.
I could not find it. I looked and looked, and I could not find the bail statement. I don't know if he has it or what.
All right, and the second thing that you want is for verbal abuse, which you don't get paid for. Because you're suing him for $4,000. Way over. Okay, and the mortgage payment is $758. Okay, let's get to the bail first. Tell me the circumstances surrounding this bail.
The bail was, he was driving a car that was illegally licensed, and he got pulled over, and they took him to jail. And I can't remember if he had some other...
When was this?
This was in June of 2001.
Does that sound familiar, sir?
It sounds familiar in January, yes.
January of
Yeah.
2001?
No, it wasn't January. It was in the spring. The weather was beautiful.
Oh. Were you taken to jail, sir?
Yep.
Did you have bail?
Yep.
Where'd you get it from?
I have retrieved bail from Michael, a friend of mine. My mom has put up collateral for her house more than once, but just collateral.
No, I paid $1,000 and the collateral for that particular bail. The one he's talking about was for another charge that he was charged with, and his friend Michael did pay that bail for him because I had no more money to pay any more bail.
Why do you think your mother would lie about posting bail for you?
That's going to be the whole case. She's used her collateral more than once. I've asked her
More
to
than
use...
once for your bail?
Yep.
Well,
Yes,
how many
ma'am.
times have you been arrested, sir?
A few.
How many is a few?
A number?
Do you not? Are you telling me you don't remember?
Well, Your Honor, I've absolutely been in trouble. I haven't recently, but yes, I've been in a deal of trouble and asked her for collateral at least 4 times.
Okay, well, this time she says in June of 2001, she also had to post the bail. So if you can't remember how many times you've been arrested, maybe you don't remember who posted the bail all the times.
I remember
that you were
exactly who
arrested.
posted the bail, Your Honor.
Well, who posted the bail in June?
Michael.
She said that that was in January.
No, he
There
said
was no
that-
arrest in June. I was only arrested in January. I went to the court
I
date.
could
I
be
know
wrong
what the
with
date
the
is.
month. It was in the spring. Those two cases were very close together.
Okay.
And
Tell me, Mrs. Brown,
the
did you get a call from your son from jail?
Yes.
Well, tell me about the phone call. Maybe that will
He
jog
just
his
called
memory.
and said that he had been arrested, then he needed to get bailed out, and could I get the money? And I said, yes. The money that I used was money that was supposed to stay in the bank. That's why I am asking for the money back, because the money was for something else.
What was it for?
It was for, we were going to do some work on the house.
Let me look at your statement. You say that you took out $1,000 so that you would have exactly when you took out the $1,000.
Well, this is showing up on my June, so that's why I said June.
Well, it would tell you the date in June.
6/4, $1,000.
Now, tell me exactly where you took this $1,000. Look at me.
I bailed him from a bondsman in Tacoma. I could not find that bondsman. I looked in the phone book and I made calls and I could not remember the name of that bondsman. I bailed him out. He went to court. And then, of course, you don't get that $1,000 back because that was the 10%.
let's get to the house payment in August. Did you, in fact, live in the house in August, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Beginning of August until when?
Till, actually, I think it was after, it was more like the 1st or 2nd of September, I think.
And your arrangement with your mother was that you would take care of the household expenses.
The agreement of me buying the home was me buying the home, yes, and everything involved with it.
Did you pay for August?
The money for paying for the August rent was supposed to be paid on that Friday. Something had come up, I didn't get to it. That Friday night is the night that she came home and did her rampage and called the cops and kicked us out. That night, Friday night, assuming that I'd already paid, which I had not got a chance to pay yet.
But
So
it's due the beginning of August, not the end.
it gets paid, Your Honor. It gets paid every single month.
So your mother is correct that you did not make the $1,500 payment that you were supposed to make.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Is there any defense to that $1,500, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, she threw me and my son out in the street in the middle of the night.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You must have had some lollapalooza of a fight with your mother.
There was no fight.
You mean your mother went through a psychotic episode?
She does not like my son's mother.
That's not what happened at all.
And later today,
I don't remember. It was such a long time ago.
It's not so long ago in the scheme of things.
You know, I have the emails when I had gotten the order of protection, and
Let's get to the money.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandy Brown says her son Henry Brown owes for 1 month of household expenses. Henry says his mom threw him out on the street in the middle of the night.
Go ahead.
I came to give her the money for that mortgage the next week after she had told me I couldn't come around, told me I couldn't have my stuff, told me my son couldn't have his stuff, and I'd come to have a couple cars towed at her request, at which time the police were called by her.
Well, you must have had some lollapalooza of a fight with your mother.
There was no fight. I was at home with my son, with my son's mother, with her daughter, and with my 13-year-old nanny when she came home at 10 o'clock at night and kicked and booted me out.
You mean your mother went through a psychotic episode?
She does not like my son's mother. That's been her issue for about a month before this happened. That was her only issue. We had a fight about her before she left, I think it was on a Wednesday, and she came home Friday evening, and her first words were, she has to leave. She has to go. She has to leave. And I told her, no, it's 10 o'clock at night. And she got on the phone, called the cops, and told the cops I had been abusive and everything else. I'm standing there with cooking utensils, cooking food.
Why did you put your son out, Mrs. Brown?
that's not what happened at all.
Well, what
we
happened?
had been having an argument that whole week.
About what?
I did want him to move out because I didn't appreciate him yelling at me, getting in my face, yelling at me. I did not appreciate him saying derogatory remarks about me. This is my home. I've lived here for 28 years, and I didn't feel like I had to put up with it. They had taken it upon themselves to move my furniture around. I did not yell at him. I said, Hank, I said, I don't want callers spending the night here. That's what I told him. And he just started yelling at me. And I said, okay, you need to move out. And he says, I'm not moving. I said, either you move, I'm going to go, or I'm going to call the police. He said, go ahead. So I said, fine. So I did. He had a warrant. He left so he wouldn't get arrested. 2 weeks
What did
later,
he have a warrant for?
I believe it's non-payment of child support. He has an older daughter. Then on that Monday, which was like the 3rd of September, I went straight to court and filed for a protection order. Okay. He came to pick up his cars. I called the police, gave the police a protection order. They served him, and he went to jail on that same arrest warrant 2 weeks later.
Not on anything that had to do with you.
No, didn't have anything to do with me.
Okay. Did he ultimately get his personal property and his son's personal property from the house?
Well, yes, he did. And by the way, when we went to finalize the protection order, I told him then, I need your stuff out of my house in 2 weeks because I need to have a roommate move in with me because I can't afford this house by myself. He never came. Ultimately, I put his son's bedroom set on the deck. I told my son, tell him to come and get Hanky's bedroom set before it is ruined, because by then it was like the end of October. He never came.
Where was he living?
Around
With his son?
with his son. He's still living around with his son.
Okay. Well, I don't have a counterclaim for that. In any event, I find that you did, in fact, post his bail, $1,000, and he owes you $1,500, almost acknowledged for August of 2001. So I'm entering a judgment for $2,500. Thank you. That's all.
All right, you got excused. You may step out.
This woman, out of spite, has put me and my son out of our home that we had a good faith agreement on.
The agreement was if I died, he could inherit the house.
Don't trust nobody.
I guess he thought I was going to die in 2 or 3 years. I don't know.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robert versus Joseph Oski. Step forward, please.
Student Kathy Robert is suing her former friend, freelance event coordinator Marion Joseph Oski, for the value of her pets. Marion is countersuing for harassment and lost wages.
Miss Robert, the defendant was a friend of yours, according to you, and agreed to do some pet sitting for you.
That's correct.
And according to you, she sold your pets to a local pet store. You want to be compensated for the pets. The defendant says that she did, in fact, agree to watch your animals for you for a day. It ended up being 3 weeks. You couldn't keep them anymore. She is counterclaiming, alleging harassment. So why don't you tell me when and under what circumstances she agreed to do this pet sitting for you?
She agreed originally to do it for me on July 8th. I came over and left my animals on July 16th. It was supposed to be...
Okay. What kind of animals were they?
I had 3 birds, 1 bunny, and a small fish aquarium.
3 birds, 1 rabbit, and 1 fish tank?
Small aquarium. Yes.
Well, what was in the aquarium?
Some guppies.
Is this just a bowl?
Mm-hmm. A bowl.
So you're talking about a fish bowl, hardly an aquarium.
No.
3 birds. What kind of birds?
A plumhead parakeet and a white-faced cockatiel and a albino parakeet.
Why did you tell her you needed her to watch the animals for you?
I was moving out and my apartment wasn't ready yet, and I couldn't put the animals where I was going to be staying, so she agreed to take care of them, and I gave her $50 to do that.
Did she give you $50?
No, ma'am, she gave me $25. A check which she asked me not to cash for several days, which I complied with.
Does that sound right to you?
No, because she had a closed bank account and I couldn't give her a check, so I gave her cash on different times.
That's not true.
What do you mean you gave her cash at different times?
I gave her $25 initially, and then whenever I would come over to visit, I'd give her $10.
All right, so initially you did give her $25.
Initially.
Okay. Now, you brought the animals over on the 16th?
Correct.
Then what happened?
And then I came over to visit once a week. She knew that she would be watching the birds for about 3.5 weeks.
Don't tell me what you knew. She come over once a week?
About that.
Fine. How many weeks did you visit?
3.
When did you tell her you wanted the animals back?
I had asked her if she could watch them till about August 15th, but she said that she needed me to come pick them up about August 8th. So I said, okay. And I tried to call her August 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Never got a phone call back from her at all.
Well, when was the last time you had visited your animals?
I believe it was July 31st, and I went over on July 31st, and my bunny wasn't there. She said that the bunny was being cared for by her ex-husband, which we later found out was a lie. They were over at her little girl's friend's house, and we went there approximately 6 weeks later and picked it up from the little girl's friend's house.
Okay, so the bunny you got back.
The bunny I got back, and I bought back 1 bird from
Just a
the
minute,
pet store.
bunny you now have.
The bunny I have.
What happened with the birds? Because it's the birds that we're talking about.
Well, Your Honor, she did ask me to watch them, but it was only for, quote, a few days at the most.
Okay, but she came to visit. According to what you just testified to, she would come once a week. So you knew it was more than 1 day, because that's what you say in your answer.
Initially, it was 1 to 3 days.
Okay, but it turned out to be more than that.
Correct.
And you knew it was more than that because she came to visit once a week, according to you.
Right.
You said that. So why
Right.
did you give away your animals?
Because
Or sell
I told her, each time she came to visit me, I told her that she needed to pick them up by the 12th. By the 12th of August, I needed them gone because my landlord did not allow me to have pets. And she said, if I can't have...
Would you look at me?
If I can't have a place for them to stay, then can you find someone to watch them for me? And so I found someone else to take care of them, and they, in turn, got rid of the birds. I did not. I just did what she asked me to do.
Who did you give the birds to?
A friend...
Give me the friend's name.
Jeff is his name.
And you gave Jeff the birds when?
On the 14th, when I was moving out. After I waited for her to come, and she did not because my door was ajar open all day because I was fixing the door so that I could move out and get my deposit
Your
back.
Honor, I was there on the 15th, and she told me that the
And
birds were at
excuse
her
me.
mother's house, and she gave me a fake phone number. I was there the day after she's saying that.
She told you that the birds
she
were at
gave
her
them-
mother's house.
Yep.
Did you ever find out what happened to the birds?
I found one of them in a pet store, and I have no idea what happened to the plumhead. I have no idea.
How did you find one of the birds in a pet store?
I heard them arguing in the background. I called up once, and she said, well, I really don't have your birds. Jeff really has them. And she started arguing with Jeff in the background, and he goes, well, I can't get them back. I sold them to Birdland.
All right, you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am. Kathy called everyone I know, telling them that if they ever wanted to see me alive again, that they should tell me to give her birds back. And she also threatened my family. She told me, just give me your laptop and I will leave you and your family alone. She told my daughter that she was going to come to her school if I didn't give her anything in return for her birds being sold, which she knew that I did not sell. That's not true. And threatening me, and she made me lose a babysitting job I had because I had a 3-year-old there, and she was screaming at my face. She was right here telling me she was going to trash my car and she wasn't going to leave us alone. And
you had no right to give anybody her animals. This isn't a situation where she left these animals with you, totally unattended. She never came back. I'm speaking. The $25 that she gave you more than covered any food for 3 birds and a rabbit for 3 weeks. So there's no question that you didn't have any out-of-pocket expenses, even if she didn't give you any more money. I mean, bird seed and rabbit food, $25 worth goes a very, very long way. So what you had to do was just return them to her and get them out of your house.
But she asked me, Your Honor.
You chose not to do that. You chose to give them to somebody who was unreliable. That's boyfriend Jeff.
Excuse me,
And if Jeff, no, now you
me,
listen
Your
to me. And if Jeff sold them, you are responsible. You agreed to take care of her pets and you chose not to do that.
Until a certain time, Your Honor.
No, you chose not to do that.
She agreed to pick them up on the 12th, Your Honor.
And you chose a path that was wrong because you had another path that you could have chosen, which was to take the animals, 3 birds, because you already didn't have the rabbit, and take them to where she was living and say,
I did not know
here
where
they
she was
are,
living.
then pick up a phone and call her.
I knew her for 3 weeks before all this happened. She just starts dumping her stuff and all of her pets on me. And I was just trying to help her.
Anything on you, madam. According to you, she would come by once a week to visit them. You told me that. That's what you told me for 3 weeks.
And
That's what you told me. So this wasn't just here, take my animals and I'll come and get them when I want to. She gave them to you. She did the responsible thing. She gave them to you with money. Then she came once a week to see them and probably gave you an extra couple of bucks too, although you don't acknowledge that.
However,
even if she didn't, she gave you enough to take care of them. You had a responsibility to do the right thing. You did not. She's going to get what she asks for, which is $560. And as far as your counterclaim is concerned, you didn't do the right thing. You don't get a penny for harassment. Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 387 on case number 118 on the calendar in the matter of Stutz versus Bailey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
This case is like a mini-series. Mr. Stutz, you and the defendant lived together for a long time, and there were lots of pieces to your claims, because I have a claim, I have a counterclaim. The main part of the case is about a van that you claim is yours, that after you broke up, you had impounded. So now the van is in impound someplace. Is that right, sir?
Yes, it's in storage.
And you want the defendant to give you the title to the van so you could have your van out of storage. The defendant says it's her van, and she wants the van. Then you claim that she has some jewelry that belongs to you. She says she has one piece of jewelry that belongs to you that she's prepared to give back to you. And what is that, madam?
The ring his father had made for him.
Can I see it, Bird, please? Sure. So let's take care of the simple things first.
No,
Is this your father's ring, sir?
I can't see that far.
You can't see that far. I can see up close.
Yes, it looks like it.
Now you have it back.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Easy.
Thank you.
Now let's deal with the other easy part of this case. You were engaged to be married,
That's true.
and you gave her an engagement ring.
Yes.
And how much did you pay for this engagement ring?
Approximately $1,300.
You have the receipt?
No, I don't have the receipts. She has all the receipts to them. We had a joint checking account at the time. My mom left me a bunch of money, and I put it into account because I couldn't have a checking account. And so she paid for it, which was my money that was in the account. She paid for it with check. All the money that was put into the account was what my mother had left me. My mom left me approximately like $48,000, and it was all my money that was in that account. She had nothing.
Yes.
I took care of his mother. She was dying of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yes.
How long did you take care of his mother?
About 6 or 7 months.
Yes, she took care of my mother. My sister made her a deal. Paid her so much money a week, room and board. During the time she was there taking care of my mother, my mom still took care of her family, helped her mother out.
All right.
And
Let
everything.
me just a second. So what you're telling me is She wrote out the check for her own engagement ring.
Yeah, it was my money.
Was it his money that paid for the engagement ring?
Yes, he put the money into the checking account,
All right.
and it was
Fine. So it's his?
It was $1,000.
$1,000. Where's the ring?
It got stolen along with my VCR and some other stuff.
When?
I'm not exactly sure. It was in my girlfriend's car.
Did you file a police report?
No,
Why not?
because I had to have her. It was in her car.
So what? If the property was stolen out of the car, why didn't you file a police report?
Well, I didn't find out about it until later.
I don't
couldn't
believe
get a-
you.
Well, it's true.
Oh, I don't believe you. How's that? You don't keep an engagement ring in a car.
No, she had my bags and stuff.
Did she have insurance?
No.
Then if she didn't have insurance, then you file a police report. Then you say to me, here's the police report. I listed it as an item that was stolen, and therefore I have some proof that it was stolen. So right now, sir, you're ahead of the game by $1,000.
Thank you.
On your claim. Now tell me about the van.
Okay, I bought, my mom left me money, and she had 3 wishes for me. One, okay, well, I bought this van on approximately October, when I got a big check from my mom's inheritance that she left me. And she was supposed to go register the van as me as legal owner and her as registered owner.
Why did she do that?
For insurance purposes.
Why? What's wrong with you?
My record isn't very good that
Why?
way. Because I had a couple tickets at the time.
What else, sir?
And that's it. Just tickets.
So you put the van in her name.
No, it was never finished in her name. What it was, she was supposed to go take it down there, and then when she left, after a big heated argument, she took the van, and just left. The next day I go down to the DMV to find out what's up. They tell me that she's trying to put this in her name. And so I says, wait a minute here, so the DMV puts a stop on it. And as my witness will tell you, he's seen the money exchange at the time.
How much did you pay for the van?
I paid approximately $3,300 for it.
Oh, okay. Now, what's your story about the van?
For one, he wasn't there.
Just tell me what the story is about the van.
Okay, when we were waiting for the house to go through probate, he lost his job. We needed money to pay the rent, and we sold the Volkswagen van so we could pay rent. And he said that he would buy me another van, and he was going to buy a truck. And he said...
Right. So you sold his car in order to pay the rent?
No, he gave it to me, and he kept saying, it's up to you, it's your van. If you want to sell it. I said, well, we need to pay our bills.
All right, let's go. Let's go. So now we went and bought the van. He bought the van with his money, is that right?
Yes.
Is that van titled now? Is there?
No, it's not. It's right
It's not
in the middle
complete,
of it
but I have the paperwork here.
Good. Can I have it, please?
all. And then there's some
I'll
other
just give her
jewelry
all
that's
the
involved, too.
paperwork.
That's it. That's it.
And Your Honor,
What?
can I say something else?
What?
When I went to the DMV to finish the paperwork, and the police came and said that it was on the hot sheet, I said, yes, I reported it stolen because it was stolen from behind my
How
apartment.
long did you people live together?
Off and on for like 15, 16 years. When my mom died, I tried to make it work, and it just wouldn't work. I was tired of taking care of her and her family. We went through a bundle of money, and like 3 months, we went through a lot of money.
And I don't have any indication that he made a gift of this van to you. He bought it, he paid for it, and shortly after you got it, it took off.
When I left, Your Honor, he said for me to sign off on the RV, and he wouldn't give me any problems about the van.
That's baloney.
Oh, just 1 second, just 1 second. Hold on a second. Oh, here we... Hold on a second.
He was there. He was there.
Hold on a second. You bought an RV?
I bought this RV at the beginning of when my mom give me a first $10,000 check. I bought an RV to live in because my mom, when she was in her dying bed, said to buy this so you make sure you have something to live in.
Just a second. What year was that?
2000.
And at that point, you'd been together with a 13 or 14
No, we
years.
really
and
weren't
on.
together off and on. What happened
What does
was
that mean?
we got back together when she was taking care of my
He
mother.
needed help.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
and she got paid for it. I even
Okay,
took her
just
to
a
Mexico on a
second.
cruise.
So before that, you weren't living together?
No, we only actually lived together after my mom died for 10 months or something like that. Our relationship was just like that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He almost killed me when his mother was alive, and I told him if he laid a hand on me that I would leave.
I haven't touched you in over 10 years.
Listen to me. I'm not interested. Get over it.
And later today,
Have you ever known her to be psychiatrically hospitalized?
Yes.
How many times was she in a psychiatric hospital?
I really couldn't tell you, but I'm used to being incarcerated. So I
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Harold Stutt says his former longtime girlfriend, Leylon Bailey, owes for the return of his van and the return of jewelry. Leylon says Merle has her belongings too.
Listen to me. Give him the title to his van.
Your Honor, he was there.
He paid for the van. It's his van. He was stupid to say, go put it in your, you put it in your name.
No, he told me to.
Quiet. We don't have a long-standing living together for 15 or 16 years. You've known each other 15 or 16 years. You actually lived together for 10 months after his mother died.
We lived together before. And he almost killed me when his mother was alive, and I told him if he laid a hand on me that I would leave.
Then why did you
I
go
haven't
back?
touched you in over 10 years.
Then why don't you
Tell
go-
him in the RV.
Listen to me. I'm not interested. Get over it. Get over it. You cared for her enough to give her an engagement ring, right?
Yes,
And he bought me the van.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yes. I'm okay with that.
Fine. And you get $1,000 for that because I don't believe her story for a second that it got stolen out of a car with a lot of other stuff without filing a police report because somebody has property that's stolen. You call the police and you say, this car was broken into and all my property was stolen. That's what a normal person does. All right. Now, you say that he has some of your personal property. What does he have of your personal property?
My microwave oven that my girlfriend gave to me.
Yeah.
He tried to give me an old broken down one.
Yeah.
And
What else?
my brass
Stop it.
collection, my angel collection,
What else?
some clothes.
You have her angel collection.
She can have it all.
Sure. I want you to just pay attention to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have her angel collection?
Yes, it's in storage, and I'll give it back to her. So no
Pack
problem
it
at all.
nicely and give it back to her.
Yes.
Do you have a microwave that she had?
No.
Nothing else.
The microwave was given to both of us
Listen
to
to
put
me.
in the motorhome.
Anything else other than her angel collection?
I'll give her everything. I don't want none of her stuff.
What else do you have? I need to itemize it.
My mom gave her a rocking chair, which she can have, and the angel sheet.
And my sewing machine.
And the sewing
That.
machine. She can have that, too.
What else?
That's
So let's
all I
make it
got.
clear. Listen. The two of you, stop moving around so much. You're making me nervous. Angel collection, sewing machine, and a rocking chair. What else do you have, sir?
That's all. I don't know if the sewing machine and the rocking chair's in the garage, because I went in there, and she'd already been in the garage taking stuff out of it.
Do
so
you
we
have
to
the
ask her if she
sewing
took it
machine?
or
Yes,
not.
I got the sewing machine.
And what about the rocking chair?
I got the rocking chair. but-
Fine. So what we're talking about is an angel collection. 5 years from today, you make sure she gets
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
The only reason I left was because he hit me, and I told him if he got physically abusive with me again, oh yeah, you never tried to kill me, huh?
I took her to Mexico, spent money on her, bought her clothes.
He almost killed me when his mother was alive.
Giving her family money, taking care of everybody. And I just got tired of it.
If they've been physically abusive once, they'll never change.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Merrick versus Black. Step forward, please.
19-year-old salesperson Kathleen Merrick is suing her former friend, 19-year-old college student Catherine Black, for the return of a snowboard.
All right, Miss Merrick, you and Miss Black used to be friends. It was your claim that you loaned her a snowboard. While you were friends, you're no longer friends, you want it back. She said it was a gift, right?
Yes.
That's what this is about. When did the snowboard leave your possession and go into her possession?
About a year ago, around this time.
Tell me how that happened.
We were friends and she wanted to go snowboarding and I had an extra snowboard, so I lent it to her.
Where'd you get an extra snowboard?
I had 2 snowboards.
From where?
My mom bought them for me.
No, that's not true. Your mother did not buy both for you.
I had 2 snowboards at my house. I
didn't ask you whether you had 2 at your house. I said to you, where did you get them? And you just said your mother bought both of them for you. That's not true. One your mother may have bought for you. Where did the other one come from?
The other one was purchased by my mother too.
Where did the other one come from?
At first she bought one and she went snowboarding and she wound up doing something on the mountain and it broke. So her mom sent it away, and while her mom bought her a new one, while it was away, it shipped away. And by the time they got it back, she already had her other one.
I'm going to read you from your answer. You said it started in October when she broke up with her ex-boyfriend and decided to get back a snowboard that was given to him as a gift while they were together. Did you forget that you wrote that?
No, not at all.
We went and asked his younger sister to go up and get it without him knowing. Once we got it in the car, she decided she had no use for it. Doesn't that sound familiar to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So according to your answer, she had given the snowboard to an old boyfriend as a present. When they broke up, the two of you went and took it back, right?
Yes.
And he wasn't there at the time. He got in the car and she said, I have one already, so you can have this one.
Yes.
I'm so glad at least I had my story straight. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes. We went to go get the snowboard back from the person's house, and I had the snowboard, and I lent it to her to use because we were going to go snowboarding together.
Your Honor, she gave it to me as a gift because...
Get out of here.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 222 on the calendar in the matter of Mendoza versus Orozco. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies have seats.
Well, you're the two fathers. Both daughters here?
Yes.
Yes.
Why don't the two fathers sit down for a minute and have the two girls up here? Your first name is?
Cinnamon.
And yours?
Irene.
You were using your father's car?
Oh, yeah, he's the primary owner, but we're both on the car.
He's the owner?
Yeah.
What kind of car were you driving?
2001 Kia Rio.
Is she a friend of yours?
Yeah.
How long have you known her?
We've known each other for about 3 years.
And you knew how old she was at the time of this accident?
Yeah.
And you knew she didn't have a driver's license?
Yeah.
Tell me on what day this accident occurred.
On July 4th.
And you tell me in your own words how she came into possession of the car, of your father's car.
We were riding around in Chino where her father lives and just looking around different stores. And then I had to go to work. And I had like a whole bunch of my clothes in the back. And we had like come up with the idea of, well, since I'm at work and I don't get out till like way early in the morning, she said, well, maybe I could take the clothes to my father's house. And I said, okay, that sounds fine. I trust you. And so I gave her the keys to the car. And then she took the car and I was at work. And after that, I got a phone call at work that my car had been in an accident.
Did you ask her if you could have the car?
No. It was a mutual decision that if she drove to work and I would drive the car back to my father's house.
Did you have any discussion about you not having a license?
Yes.
Tell me about that discussion.
She was like, you don't have a license, and I was like, I know. I don't know, it's just, I don't have a license. And then she was like, well, I was like, oh, I'm a safe driver, and she was like, okay.
Now, how did you have this accident?
I was, after she had dropped, I took the car I got on the freeway, and I was driving back to Chino. We were in City of Industry. I was in the farthest left lane, but not the carpool lane, I guess the fastest lane. And
fastest lane,
I was going
without a license.
I was going 65.
Yeah.
And
she's going 20.
Okay, I was going 65.
Go ahead.
There was a blue van on the side of me and a white Camry tailgating me, and there was a car coming up on the carpool lane. Half of the car was in front of the Kia, and then it started moving into my lane. The white Camry was...
It's getting too complicated. How did you have the accident?
I'm telling you.
Well, it's getting too complicated. Did you hit somebody or did they hit you?
No, nobody hit nobody. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, just tell me, the car flipped over, the car hit a guardrail?
No, I slammed on the brakes to avoid hitting somebody, and it hit the back end, hit the guardrail. And I swerved to the exit lane, or the diamond bar exit.
Okay. Or wouldn't have happened if you weren't behind the wheel of the car.
I know.
And maybe wouldn't have happened if you weren't driving in the passing lane.
I know.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what's the damage on the car?
The total damage came about to about $7,000.
Mm-hmm. Now I'll have the fathers up here. With the girls. Stay with the girls. Mr. Roscoe, you are divorced from your daughter's mother, is that right?
Yes.
Who does she live with?
Her mother.
Is that by a court order?
Yes.
So her mother has custody of the child?
Yes.
And you pay child support?
Yes, I do. Where I used to, not no more.
No more because she turned 18?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Mendoza, according to your complaint, you contacted the mother
Yes.
of this young lady, and you said, it is your view that this accident was the fault of both girls?
Yes.
So that you should split the cost?
Exactly.
And her mother said, okay, I'll pay $1,500, and her father should pay $1,500.
Well, originally, Judge, what I had intended to do was file a claim for $5,000. Total damage was about $7,000. What I did then...
File a claim against who?
Against both of them.
Both of whom?
$5,000. Both her father and mother.
I thought you were going to file a claim for $5,000 against your daughter.
No.
Why not?
Well,
it's her fault.
Well, I thought it was both their fault.
Oh, did you?
Okay. So because of that, I figured it was only fair for me to file a claim, not for $5,000, but make my daughter be responsible for more than half of the damage because she was equally as fault for giving her the keys. So I figured it was $3,000 settlement would more than justify it. So that's what I did. I went for the $3,000. Irene's mother said she agreed with that and paid me $1,500. She said I would get the other $1,500. I would have to get the other $1,500 from Mr. Orozco. I then send a letter to him stating this.
Why didn't you send a letter to your insurance company?
Because the insurance company will not cover it.
Why not?
They said that because of the driver involved in the accident was under 25 and did not have a license. We did contact the insurance company.
Of course you did. And they disclaimed because you gave the car to your daughter to drive Your daughter did the wrong thing, and your insurance company wouldn't cover the damage.
Exactly.
Why do you think that he should?
Well, since his daughter was driving, I felt they were both irresponsible, so why not?
He doesn't have custody of his daughter.
He had custody at that time. They were staying at his home.
Judge Judy. 18-year-old Cinnamon Mendoza says she loaned her car to friend 18-year-old Irene Orozco. Cinnamon claims Irene drove it on the freeway and wrecked it.
Her mother cannot obligate him just because she says, get the other half
I didn't
from
ask her
him.
to obligate him. I asked him for it. I didn't say anything to her about obligating him.
It was aware to us that her mother said on the divorce decree that they had joint custody, but Irene chose to live with her mother, and they have 2 other sons that live with him, but they do have joint custody.
What does Irene do now? Does Irene go to school?
I have a full-time job. I was going to school, but I couldn't pay for it to go to JC.
But now you have a full-time job.
Yes, and I need to pay this off. If I had to pay my aunt back.
For what?
Because she let my mother borrow the $1,500.
Oh, she did. So first you paid your aunt back.
I need to pay my aunt back. That's why I got a full-time job.
Oh, that's fine. And now you're 18?
Yes.
What kind of work are you doing?
I work at a fast food right now.
Are you living at home?
Yes, I do.
So you have no expenses until you pay this off.
I'm paying my bills that I have, the phone bill, and whatever my expenses, my personal needs, my clothing, my shoes, everything.
Right. You see no reason for your father to pay this, do you?
No, I don't.
Good, I don't either.
I think that's unfair, but that's up to you.
Oh, I don't think that that's unfair, Mr. Mendoza.
Yes, it is.
I will draw an analogy for you, sir. Let us assume that Irene, instead of being 17 years old at the time of this accident, was 10 years old. Still a minor, right? Still a minor. Still had no driver's license. And your daughter said, you want to take the car for a little spin? She's 10. You think her father should be responsible?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Well, that's your opinion. My opinion is he should.
No. In the eye of the law, she's the adult. She's 18. You have deemed your daughter responsible enough to drive, to be totally responsible for the safety of a weapon. A car can be used in the hands of somebody who is not responsible as a weapon. You gave her that responsibility. He didn't give his daughter the responsibility of driving the car. I don't know how old you have to be to get a license. 16, 17, 18, what do you have to be?
17 and a half.
17 and a half. So for some reason, she did not have a driver's license. Now, I don't know whether that's because her parents decided she wasn't mature enough. Her parents decided that it wasn't the right thing when she was 17. But she didn't have a driver's license. So her parents said, no driver's license for you. You said to your daughter, not only can you have a driver's license, you can also have a car. They didn't make that choice. You did. And if your daughter wasn't responsible enough not to safeguard that car and not give the keys to somebody who was not equipped to drive it, I don't see why they're responsible at all. The fact that you got $1,500 from the mother is a gift. He's not responsible. If she wants to do the right thing, she'll pay you back the money. So could a 3-year-old.
But she's still driving her mother's car.
So could it, at the time of this incident, that has nothing to do with it. Then if she's in an accident, if she's driving her mother's car without a license, if the car is in an accident, they could lose their house, they could get their wages garnished, they could lose all their bank accounts. I'm talking about you and your daughter. You felt as if your daughter was responsible enough so that you could give her a brand new 2001 car and said to her, this is yours, be careful with it, be responsible with it. She acted irresponsibly. He did not give his daughter permission to drive that car. In effect, you did, because your daughter was acting as your agent. So I think that if you want to do the right thing from your now full-time job, you will see to it that your friend gets her money so that she is not responsible for these damages anymore. The fact that the insurance company disclaimed, there's a good reason for that. The insurance company disclaimed because they said you had no right to give an underage, uninsured person the keys to the car. I say the same thing. This case is over.
Why does that excuse? They stepped up.
She came home, said she had an accident, and first she told me it was her.
She should have taken responsibility, never handed the keys to my daughter.
It caused a lot of tension, but we're still friends. I mean, it's money.
We're not.
Money's an object, friendships, forever.
I was just happy that she's alive.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cole versus White.
Step 23-year-old business owner Mariah Cole is suing her former employee, 27-year-old Rebecca Watts, for the cost of her merchandise. Mariah says when Rebecca returned a starter kit of adult toys, some of the products were missing.
Miss Cole, can you explain the kind of business that you run to me?
I run an adult novelty and home party business.
What is adult novelty?
We go into homes and hold parties for adults with lotions and potions and vibrators.
That kind of adult party?
Yes.
I didn't understand. I really didn't understand what that was from your complaint. And according to your complaint, the defendant wanted to be part of your business. And I gather that the way your business works is there's a starter kit that costs $250 that has a sampling of all the merchandise.
Correct.
And people take the starter kit, which they pay for, and then proceed to have house parties with other people and sell it, sort of like what we used to do with Tupperware.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Only high-tech Tupperware.
Right.
Okay. Your complaint alleges, and the defendant concedes, that she was interested in making some extra money, decided to try this business, took a starter kit from you, and your understanding was that she would not give you the $250 right up front, but would host her parties, and a percentage of the money that she received, she would give to you as in for payment for the starter kit as it went along. Is that right?
Yes.
And you did host some parties?
I hosted 2.
But they were not particularly successful.
Correct.
You decided you no longer wanted to be in business.
Correct.
And according to you, she did not return the starter kit in the same condition as you gave it to her.
Correct.
You want the $250 for the starter kit.
Yes.
So, that's the case. I'll hear you.
Okay. I brought her back the kit, and she told me that there were some items missing out of it. And one of the items was broke, which I knew that the lid on one of the items was broke. 2 of the items, which was some order forms and a whip, I did have in my car because I was in the process of moving. I had taken the kit over to my friend's mother's house to keep it there while I was moving so nothing happened to it. When she told me what items were missing, I knew for sure the 2 items that she said was missing were in there. Whenever I got the kit from her house, because even her mother and her saw the items in there, because one of them was leaking and
What
she took it out
did
and cleaned
you
it.
leave this kit at your friend's house for?
I was in the process of moving and I was trying to get it over to her house.
Why didn't you just bring it over to her house right away?
I was trying to get all my stuff to storage and then move it over to her.
Yeah, but according to your answer, you left the kit at your friend's house and they took out the kit to look at and were fooling around with it.
Yeah, her mom was curious.
I mean, if she's going to use this starter kit again, it has to be in the exact same condition as you got it.
Right. I offered to pay her for the items that was broke, and the one item, the one potion stuff that was in there that she said wasn't in there. I didn't know what happened to that, so I offered to pay her for the items that were broke and the one item that was missing. And then I told her I had the other items, and then that's when she decided that she just wanted the money for the whole kit.
What did the kit look like when it came back to you?
When I received the kit back, there were items missing. The items that were missing entailed the bull whip, one of a set of 2 C-rings, 10 catalogs, making love oil, flavors strawberry and champagne, order forms, the diving dolphin, good head.
I don't even want to ask what that is.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There were also some of the bags that were missing, and erasers, which we use as tasters at our shows. The eager beaver, which appeared to be used. The pleasure mint that appeared to be used, which is true because we do arm massages at our parties. So that may have been used, but we would have appreciated that to have been cleaned up before she returned it to us. And then the tickle and taste was broke.
I have to make this simple and I have to let these people go. Right, Bert? As fast as possible.
It's getting a little warm.
Right? And you thought your wife was going to Tupperware parties. Okay. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that the reason you have a starter kit is the starter kit, I assume, is going to get used in the process of selling product. Because that's what it is. It's passed around. But the starter kit was new when it was given to you. Is that right?
Correct.
And the expectation was that you were going to use it in your business. Well, you can't return a used kit.
But she had told me that I could. That's why, or else I would have paid her up front if she would have told me I couldn't bring it back from the beginning.
Well,
She
did
told
you
me
have
just
it-
go ahead and bring the kit back and don't worry about it.
Well, maybe she didn't know that you had used all these things in the kit. I mean, if you're returning it in the condition that she gave it to you, then she's absolutely right. Return the kit. If it's in the same condition as the one I gave to you, fine. But if she has somebody else who comes to her and wants to enter into a business relationship, she can't give them that kit. She can't. You're probably better off out of the business anyway. How much money did you make?
Maybe $40 off one show.
$40.
Yeah, it was more time consuming than anything.
Oh, you're entitled to your kit fee. You have the kit?
Yes.
Where is it?
Part of it is here and part of it is out there.
Okay, but you have the kit. I don't want to see it.
Okay.
She just bought it.
Okay.
Okay? So you're going to give the kit to her and do with it what you will. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. That's all.
What is our excuse? You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 298 on the calendar in the matter of law versus Rudell. Parties have been sworn. You may be seated. Folks have seats, please.
Are you Alex?
Yeah.
How old are you, Alex?
7.
Are you smart?
Yes.
You want to come up and sit here and talk to me for a minute?
No, thank you.
He said he was smart, right?
It's really nice up here. I have a cushion for you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Come on, she can talk to you better up here.
Come on. I can talk to you better than sitting in that
No,
chair.
thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. Got it. Alex is a little nervous. Miss Laura, according to your complaint, the defendant is a former roommate and friend of yours.
Yes.
You are suing him for many things. One of the things that you are suing him for is you believe that his son, Alex, injured your cat, and you had substantial veterinary bills.
Yes.
You are also suing him for some rent and utility bills and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the thrust of your complaint are the vet bills for the cat. Is that
Correct.
right? Okay. Based upon what I read, you had agreed to babysit for Alex that day, and his mother had brought him over. Is that you? Mm-hmm. They are not together. No. But you were going to do some babysitting, and they were going out someplace.
Correct.
The defendant and his former wife?
Right.
Okay. While you were all sitting around in the kitchen, tell me what you heard.
I was actually sitting at the kitchen table, so I had a view both of the hallway where the cat came from and where the child was sitting. I saw my cat leave my bedroom and walk down the hall. I saw him get up and run towards the cat. All of a sudden, the cat screamed a really funny scream, and I didn't get up right away. One more scream, and I did get up. And seeing her laying on the stairs, she was just laying there. Her eyes were kind of large and glassy, and she just looked different than any time I'd ever seen her. It was very scary for me and her, I'm sure. Picked her up and felt her leg and said that, yes, indeed, it was broken. I immediately called my veterinarian to tell them that we were on our way, that the cat had a broken leg. They left me with the child, and I got in the car with the cat to go.
And Alex.
And Alex, yeah. They had plans to go out, and quite truthfully, after the fact, I thought, why didn't they take the kid? But I was just so upset about the cat that I just had her, and my only thought was to get her to the vet as quickly as possible. They were going to be closing, and they knew we were coming. She said that in looking at the x-ray...
You can't tell me what she said.
Okay.
Unless you have a report from the vet, do you?
I do have reports from the vet.
I'd like to see the report.
And pictures also.
Okay. And the photographs. Well, according to the letter, unfortunately, the fracture did not heal properly, so the only option left was amputation of that leg.
Her body began to absorb the leg, and she became in a lot of pain. So we tried pain pills for a short time, trying to preserve the leg. That didn't work, and the leg had to be amputated.
Is she doing all right now?
She's fine.
Okay. Now, I'd like to know, Miss Laura, what makes you think that Alex did something to your cat?
When we were sitting at the table, and I saw the cat come this way, and I saw Alex go that way, and then she screamed. There was no one else there, first of all. When we ran there, Alex was standing at the top. It was an exposed stairway, and he was standing at the top there and just looking down. A few days later, I asked him if he did it, and he said yes.
How did he say he did it?
I sat down in my kitchen when he was left with me again, and I just sat down, I looked at him, and I said, "Did you break Eek's leg?" And he looked at me and put his head down and said yes. I believe he threw her down the stairs. I mean, that's the only
because the stairs were, she was on the bottom of the stairs or towards the bottom.
Now, you said that when you saw your cat go up the stairs, you saw Alex follow her.
She went down the hall and he went the other way. So she probably ended up right by the stairs, and there's a railing there. And my suspicion, although I don't know, but just from where she landed, was that he had grabbed for her and she ended up going right over. Again, it's what the vet had told me, but they said there was so much force of the injury, it wasn't just a fall to have such a bad injury to her leg, to her one leg especially.
Alex, do you remember when the cat got hurt?
No.
You don't remember that day?
I don't remember the date, not the exact date.
Do you remember going with Miss Law to the veterinarian with the cat?
Yeah.
Well, that was the day the cat got hurt, okay? Were you there when the cat got hurt?
Yeah.
Were you trying to play with the cat?
No.
Tell me what happened.
I was holding it, it came over me and rubbing it. So I thought it wanted to go downstairs. And I picked it up. And I think it pushed down so hard that I think it broke its leg.
Okay, so you were holding the cat, and it jumped out of your arms and fell down the stairs? Had you played with the cat before, Alex?
No.
That was the first time you ever played with the cat? There were other cats in the house, aren't there?
Yeah.
Do you play with those cats?
Not that much.
Not that much? Do you like cats?
Yeah.
You weren't trying to hurt the cat, were you?
No.
So now you know how it happened. Did your son tell you that before?
Well, see, that's the thing. She didn't ask him.
No, I'm asking you a question.
This story
I'm
is
asking you.
changing.
Shh, listen to me. You're not letting me finish.
Sorry.
Stop being defensive. Did your son tell you at any time before today that that's what happened with the cat?
Oh, I'd say about 4 or 5 days ago. Would be the first time that I heard that he even picked up the cat.
Okay. So this is a recent thing that you just heard. You mean just recently?
Just recently.
A year later?
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something?
Yes.
He also told me that when I sat down and we had an argument, he said that if I pursued this, that he would say he and Ann and the child were sitting in the kitchen together.
What?
That he would lie. You're lying. You know, you're
No, that's ridiculous.
Miss Laura, listen to me. There is
Consummate victim. That's what she is.
No. Listen to me, sir. There is no question.
Am I done asking?
I don't know what you're getting angry about. She's not a consummate victim. Her cat was injured. But for the actions of your son, her cat would not have been injured. Now, I'm not suggesting to you that this was a purposeful thing. I'm suggesting to you that he's a little child and that he picked up a rather large cat, and the cat may not have been comfortable in his arms when he picked up the cat and wanted to get down. And because they were standing so close to the steps, the cat was thrown down the steps and broke her leg. There may not even be an issue as to liability on your part because you were all there together.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marie Lohr says her former roommate's son, 7-year-old Alex Rudell, injured her cat. Marie says the cat's leg had to be amputated.
What were the veterinary bills for the cat?
1985-45.
Can I see the bill, please? Did she discuss these bills with you, sir?
No, ma'am.
Did she ever tell you that she thought you should pay or help pay for these bills?
Eventually done.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And what did you tell her?
The thing is that we didn't see anything. I don't know. She's saying she saw Alex and the cat. Mind you, there's 8 cats and 3 great big dogs that live in this house.
Well, right now, let's say it's only a few days ago, sir, if I believe you, that you finally ascertained from your son that he was responsible for the cat's injury.
Correct.
So I'm asking you, let's talk about today.
Okay.
If you knew then what you know now, what would you have said to her with regard to the veterinary bills? Would you have told her to put the cat down because it's too expensive?
Would I have told her?
Yes.
I understand she does love animals. There's no doubt
I'm
about that.
asking you a question. Would you have told her that it was too expensive, she should put the cat down?
Would I? Yes.
That's what you would have told her. That's what I assume you would have told her. But that's not an option. You know, people who love animals the same way that some people who have children love their children.
Which I understand.
Okay, so if you understand that, then you can't make that kind of an insensitive comment.
But
But
to
what?
me personally, $2,000 for a cat is a lot of money.
Well, $2,000 to fix a cat is a lot of money. And to some, do you have children?
No, they're my children.
Shh, I asked you if you had a question. You have children. those, as she said,
Right.
are her children. Now you have one child.
Right.
God forbid something happened to your child. What would you think if somebody said to you, well, we're not going to spend $100,000 to give him that surgery. You can make another one.
I understand that.
How would you feel? Would you think that they were an insensitive moron?
That's not what I meant by it.
Well,
I mean,
well, what do you mean by it?
I understand the part about the kids being her kids.
Well, of course, you know, you can't be. I know you say you understand it,
I mean,
but if you
I had
say you
a cat
understand it,
for
then
the
you
longest
have.
time.
If you say you understand it, then you have to appreciate how callous that sounds.
It wasn't meant to sound callous.
Well, that was meant to save you some money, and you are partially responsible for this.
No.
I don't think he's totally responsible for it because you were all there, and each of you could have monitored the child a little bit better. Now, what other items do you believe that he owes you?
He stopped payment on a check for his rent.
For what month?
It was actually for August, but he gave it to me in mid-September.
Did he live there in August?
Yeah, he was there all of August.
Okay, so, and he never paid you August rent?
No, it's with this check that he stopped payment on.
Okay, let me see it.
And these are the charges. I don't know if you...
What else?
That was also the utilities. And actually, you have those up there already.
Do you have in your evidence payment for August rent?
No, ma'am.
What else?
I had the locks changed because I was afraid Rob had threatened my dog Henry and said he was going to shoot him.
Good idea when somebody moves out to change the locks anyway. What else? That's your bill.
Well, actually, I don't ever do it.
Well, that's your problem. You should do it. What else?
I trusted him. The utilities.
What date did you move out, sir?
I believe it was...
It was a Sunday, 16th of September.
Sunday.
It was the 16th of September that you moved out? Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because she was threatening my son. She called him.
Because I see you wrote this check on
Right.
the 15th of September.
Because I was leaving.
17th.
To cover what month?
September.
I can't tell whether it's September or October. You have any proof of rent receipts, et cetera, for the entire
I
period from
trusted him,
1999?
and-
Well, he's going to pay you for half of your vet bills. That's $1,000. He's going to pay you this check, which was payment was stopped on this for a month's rent. That's $300.99. And for the $12 for the stop payment, that's $1,312.99. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
How's your excuse? You may step out.
Anything is possible in terms of how that particular cat got injured.
He tends to have a temper, and I think that when the cat tried to get away, that she launched, and he probably just kind of pitched her.
She forced me out of the house. I stopped payment on my check.
When someone says they're going to shoot my dog, I don't ask them if they have a gun or not. I'm just thinking they're going to hurt my dog, and I'm next.
It's done. She can move on with her pathetic life.
And now,
Yeah, this is case number 410 on the calendar, the matter of Thompson versus Aguilar. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
This case is about your two bulldogs, and you claim that the defendant, without your permission, gave away these two dogs. So my first question to you is, how did he come into possession, into custody of your two bulldogs?
He worked at the dog daycare place where I used to take them, and I got in a position this summer where I had to move out where I was living at, and I didn't really have a place to keep them. And
when was that?
Middle of September.
And what did you do? You called him?
I had been up there at the daycare place, and he saw that I was stressed and everything about the whole situation and stuff, and he said that his brother had a yard and that he could take care of them for me.
Well, you must have told him that you couldn't take the dogs. You must have told him, I can't take the dogs.
Yes.
And he said, I have a brother who has a yard.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I thought that would be great, you know, I would have a place to keep them until I found a place to stay and everything, and he told me that I could come and see them.
Did you discuss how long you were going to leave the dogs with his brother?
It was only supposed to be temporary, maybe a couple of weeks.
So the beginning of October?
Yes.
So between the 15th of September, which is mid-September, and the beginning of October, did you have contact with him?
I called all the time and never got a hold of him.
So you didn't speak to him?
No.
Did you go over to the doggy daycare?
Yeah, I went to the daycare place and...
did you see him?
No. He had lost his job during that time and was no longer working there.
How did you finally get in touch with him?
Finally, I think his family got tired of me calling the house all the time and coming by and leaving notes, and he finally got in touch with me, and he told me that he couldn't give me the dogs back because the kids were attached. And that wasn't the point of kids being attached. He was just supposed to temporarily take care of them.
When did you finally speak to him? What month?
in October.
Now, what was your living situation in the beginning of October?
I found a place to stay and everything so I could have them with me.
And you communicated that to him in October?
Yes, he said he was going to get a hold of the people who had them, and I didn't really understand what he meant by that because his brother was supposed to be taking care of them, and he said he couldn't get in touch with them.
How long had you had these dogs?
I've had the one 2 years and the other one 1.5 years. I mean, I have health insurance on them, and I don't even have health insurance on myself. I mean, I've make a scrapbook for my boyfriends of them. You know, they're my little boys. They're not really what I consider.
Okay,
dogs.
Mr. Aguilar, let me hear your version of these events. Mid-September, she asked you what?
She came into the shop where I used to work out on a Friday afternoon, and she said she was having some problems. If I could watch them through the weekend. I said, sure. So once the weekend came up, Monday, I called her up, and she said she was still having some problems. I said, oh, I'll watch them for a few more days.
Did you have her home phone or a cell phone?
I had both numbers.
Okay, go ahead.
So once those days came, I called her up, and I told her, you know what, I'm no longer working there. Come get your dogs. I couldn't keep them at the house anymore. So she says, I can't take them back if you can find them at home. And I said, my brother, he liked the dogs. He said, can you give them a try? I took him to my brother's house.
And what did she say when you said, I have a brother who can take care of them?
She said, fine. I said, yeah, there's no problem. You come and visit them once in a while. But it didn't work out at my brother's house. The landlord didn't accept the dogs there because they ruined the yard. Meanwhile, it was my brother's wife's cousin was in from out of town. He liked the dogs.
Did you call Miss Thompson and tell her it didn't work out at your brother's house?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes.
You did? You called her on her home phone or her cell phone?
Home.
And what did you tell her when you called her at her home phone?
I said that it didn't work out with my brother, that it was another family was watching the dogs now, that they wanted the dogs. And she told me to find it at home. That's what I did. I just did what...
What did she say to you, sir, when you said to her, it didn't work out with my brother, but there's another family? Did she ask you who these people were?
No.
Didn't ask you anything about them?
No.
Didn't ask you whether they had children, whether they lived in a home, whether they had a yard?
Didn't ask me anything of that because 2 months passed by when she got in contact with me.
Not when she got in contact with you. I'm asking you, sir. You told me shortly after she gave you the dogs, you say you called her and told her about that.
Yes.
And she didn't ask you anything about these people. She said it was okay. Is that what you told me?
Yes.
And then months later, she called you and said, I want my dogs back.
Yes.
That's what you're telling me. December, maybe, she called and told you she wanted her dogs back?
The end of November.
End of November. And that was the first you had heard from her after you told her you were giving the dogs to your brother's wife's cousin.
Yes.
Now, Miss Thompson, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Did Mr. Aguilar call you and tell you that he was giving the dogs to his brother's wife's cousin?
No. As far as I knew, they were with his brother.
So you're telling me the beginning of October he never called you to tell you he was giving them to his other person? Now, if he had called you and said to you, my brother can't keep the dogs, but there's this other family, you would have asked him a couple of questions about the other family, right?
Right. They're my little family.
Can I see your scrapbook, please? While you were bringing the dogs to the doggy daycare, you brought them there while you were working, is that right? I'm talking about before this time, before you ran into some trouble during the summer.
Yes.
While you were working, you would bring them there during the day?
Yeah, normally on hot days because I do personal training and they go everywhere with me, so I kept them in the car a couple times with the air conditioner running, and you get a violation for that, so it was just a lot easier just to take them in to daycare and then come and pick them up.
And other than that, they were with you all the time?
Yeah, when they were puppies, they went in the gym bag with me.
Now, when you took them to doggy daycare, you had to pay for that?
Yeah, it's like $60 a day. Sometimes I pay more for the dog daycare than I do for my rent, you know, I mean,
I got you. Now, Mr. Aguilar, let me explain to you, sir, why I don't believe you. Because if you create a scrapbook like this of your pets, and if you pay a substantial amount of money for daycare for your dog, then a normal person under the scenario that you created for me. And you said, I called her and told her my brother couldn't take care of the dogs anymore, but there was another family. The first question you would ask is, well, tell me about them. Where do they live? Do they have children? Is there a yard? Could I come to visit them? Because you said I could visit them when they were supposed to be with your brother. Now, you told me she asked you nothing, and all she said to you was fine. I don't believe that, Mr. Aguilar. Not for a minute.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. April Thompson says former friend Lorenzo Aguilar refuses to return her 2 English bulldogs. Lorenzo says she told him to give them away.
Now, I don't know if you got any money for these dogs. English bulldogs are very expensive.
I know.
Very expensive, sir. So I'm not even going to ask you whether you got any money for these dogs. How much did you pay for them?
$1,500 a piece.
They're very expensive dogs. These people who you gave the dogs to, Mr. Aguilar, gave or sold or another way bartered these dogs for Mr. Aguilar, do they live out of the jurisdiction? Do they live out of state?
Up north in Fresno.
Have you spoken to them?
I contacted once that the previous owner wanted to visit and then declined. They didn't want to have to do nothing with it.
Was any money exchanged for these dogs, Mr. Aguilar?
No.
I see the police report that you filed the beginning of November. Did the police ever contact you, sir?
Yes.
I don't have a write-up from the police with regard to their conversation with the defendant. Do you have any further follow-up from the police?
No, that's all That's all that I have. They told me that since I gave him permission to watch them, they're considered property, so I didn't really have a right, which it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me either, and I don't buy Mr. Aguilar's story, quite frankly, that he spoke to you and you said he was going to give the dogs away to strangers. You asked no questions about the people that he was going to give the dogs to. That doesn't make any sense at all. The value that you gave the police for the dogs was $3,000. Is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson, I know that this is going to be a difficult question to answer. If you receive a judgment, you're going to purchase 2 new bulldogs?
They're not replaceable.
I know, but I can't give you back the ones that you had because I don't have the people before me who have them. Do you understand? If I could, I would, but I don't have those people. If I could force them to do that, I would, but I can't. Those people aren't here. So I'm going to ask you the question again. If you receive a judgment today in the amount of $3,000, is it your intention to, I can't say replace your dogs because you can't replace them, but would it be your intention to start again with 2 new puppies of the same breed?
I don't know. I didn't really think about not getting them back.
Well, you understand that he doesn't have them physically, so I can't get them from him. You understand that?
Yes.
Well, I'm at least going to give you an opportunity to think about it. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $3,000. That's all.
What is your excuse? You need to step out.
I tried to get the dogs back for her and I couldn't.
I need to make sure and get stuff in writing next time rather than just trust people and what they say.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Walker versus Lund. Step forward, please.
36-year-old construction worker David Walker is suing his former father-in-law, 68-year-old retired school teacher Donald Lund, for getting rid of his personal belongings. David is suing for $5,000.
Mr. Walker, the defendant is your former father-in-law, and he was also the landlord in the home that you shared with your wife.
Yes.
According to your complaint, sometime in March of 2000, you were removed from your home, and your wife obtained a restraining order against you. Is that right?
That's correct.
You claim that your father-in-law either destroyed or gave away or removed personal property of yours that was in the home.
Yes, I do.
And you want to be reimbursed for that property.
Yes, ma'am.
Your father-in-law says that sometime in September of 2000, he was notified that he had to get rid of a lot of junk on the property. He removed all that stuff. Is that right?
Well, I removed not his stuff. I removed the stuff that was in the yard debris, stuff like that.
Now, Mr. Walker, I'd like you to give me some idea of what property you say was left on the property in March of 2000.
Okay, well, I had 3 vehicles, 2 pickup trucks, a camper.
3 vehicles?
3 vehicles.
Okay. Now, when for the first time, sir, did you request that property?
Quite a few times between March and September, I'd spoke with Dawn and asked how I could go about retrieving my property. When it finally did come time for the vehicles to be removed from the property, like he said, Dawn had to get a tow truck to remove the 2 trucks that were in the driveway, and he moved them just adjacent the driveway in front of the home where I'm not allowed to come obtain them.
So, where are they?
They were towed by the city.
When were you notified that they were towed?
Immediately, I knew they were towed.
So why didn't you go get them?
I couldn't get them out of the impound.
Why not?
Didn't have the money to.
Well, that's not his fault.
Okay.
First of all, he was under no obligation to pay for towing your trucks off that property in the first place. You could have done that yourself.
We couldn't do that because of my ex-wife.
What do you mean? You said you spoke to him.
I spoke to him, and he told me to come over to meet him on the property and have him towed off. When I didn't show up to meet him on the property, that's what he did.
Fine. So forget the vehicles. And you were notified immediately that they were impounded. You could have gone over immediately, paid whatever minimal fine there was for towing, and gotten your cars. All right. What's next? Boats. Tell me about the boats.
Well, one boat wasn't on a trailer that Dawn drug out and left in the middle of the gravel road for whoever wanted to take it or come get it.
And when did he do that, sir?
Probably 2 or 3 weeks after the vehicles were removed. He had to get
And what
the boat
date were
off.
the vehicles removed?
I would say probably September 15th.
Where were you between March and September?
Living 10 blocks away.
So why didn't you go to small claims court in April and say, I want my boats? Why didn't you do that? You waited a year and a half later?
Well, probably because I didn't see any reason to have to do that. My property should have been given to me. You know, if Don had an order to remove it from the property, he should have removed it and put it 150 feet away from the home. He was aware of the restraining order. He was aware I couldn't come on the property, and there was nothing there worth going to jail over.
Are you divorced now?
Yes, we are.
Did your judgment of divorce address the boat?
The judgment of the divorce addressed whatever vehicles were in our possession, which obviously no vehicles were in my possession at that time.
Well, why didn't you raise the issue before the judge who handled your divorce and say, I have a boat?
They went ahead and went ahead with the divorce when I wasn't present.
You defaulted. You were served. You served and you chose not to appear.
I suppose so.
Okay. What else?
Tools and materials, which on June 25th of this last year, the shed was torn down and they were disposed of.
We had from March of 2000 to June of 2001. So where were you? And say, I need my tools.
I was living in Clackamas County with a no-contact order with the victim and a no-contact order with Mr. Lund.
Now, do you still have a no-contact order?
There's still a no-contact order
So
with
you have the
both of them.
same no-contact order that you had in March of 2000.
No, there wasn't one in March of 2000.
April of 2000.
There wasn't one in
May
April.
of 2000.
It's October.
October. So between March and October, there wasn't a restraining order.
No, and I tried like hell to get my stuff.
You found your way to small claims court now. You know how to do that.
I was not aware that I could go to small claims court. Being the divorce was not final, the divorce had not been filed. None of the property should have been removed, disposed of, or sold until our divorce was final. Point of the matter is, the property was destroyed, the property was vandalized, and the property was disposed of before our divorce.
Then, sir, you should have addressed that in your divorce.
Okay?
You should have said, I don't have my cars, I don't have my share of my boats, I don't have my tools, and then it's all resolved.
You think it's right that somebody disposes of somebody's property and everything that they've worked hard for their whole life and never so much as give them one item just to spite them?
Well, sir, what I think is that when you're going through a divorce, you're supposed to be vigilant about obtaining property that is important to you. And what I'm saying to you is you don't wait 2 years and then say, we never mentioned this property in my divorce because I chose not to appear, so now I want $5,000 from you for all the things that you didn't take good care of that belong to me.
I might be wrong on the timeline, the amount of time I waited, but I'm not wrong for requesting being compensated by the person that disposed of all my property. Landlord-Tenant Act says Mr. Lund cannot dispose of my property without giving me
He didn't
written
dispose
notice.
of any of your property, sir. He didn't dispose of any of your property. He got your cars off of his property. And the fact that they were not 150 feet away, so you say he enabled you to go over and get them.
vindictive.
It may be. That's what divorces usually are, vindictive. That's why people have to appear if they have a problem, not say, which is what you did. So she wants a divorce, let her get a divorce, and I'll deal with this later.
I did what the law told me to do, have no contact with either victim.
No, sir. There is still a no contact order. And if there's still a no contact order, you found your way to the courthouse today. You should have found your way to the courthouse a year and a half ago. Your complaint is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Case number 44 on the calendar in the matter of Fowler versus Broom. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Fowler, you are suing the defendant for some child care that you provided during a 3-month period from September until December.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that you were paid. Did you know her before you started to do this child care arrangement with her?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How?
I met her in the summer of 2000. Her son was over to my house, and he had stole some money. So I had to go and talk with her about it. He admitted stealing the money, and...
How old is your son?
He's now 13. And then again, he was not the only one.
But that's not the child you were
Right.
babysitting for.
No, ma'am.
No. Okay, go ahead.
Then on September the 10th of 2001, I went to Tarzana Elementary School to pick up my daughter, Cayman. And when I got there, her daughter, Kylie, was with my daughter. And she was crying, and I asked her what was the matter, and she said that she was upset.
I don't want to hear.
She said that she was upset because her mother hadn't come to pick her up yet. So I called her mother on the cell phone and let her mother know that if it was okay, I would, bring her home. She said she got off at 6 o'clock. At 6:30 when she got to my house, we entered a verbal agreement for me to begin watching her child.
Well, what was said? She must have said something to you. Can you watch her regularly?
Yes, she let me know that her daughter was on the waiting list for Latchkey, which is an after-school program. Until then, she didn't really have anyone to pick her up from school. I told her I could pick her up, each day with my daughter. And she said she would pay me $6 an hour. I was picking her up at 2:30 each day. And I began on September 11th actually providing child care for her. Then on September the 14th, Ms. Broom approached me with paperwork from a company called CC&RC and asked me if I would enter a contract with them. They are a company that provides assistance with child care payments for single parents. I filled out the application and everything and began to wait. One of the things that I mentioned to her, in order for me to be able to watch her child, I would have to enter her child into programs that my child was entered into, tap and ballet classes. Here are the receipts for the ballet and tap classes that I entered her daughter. I paid for them, and Mrs. Broom reimbursed me.
Good. Okay. Did you get paid at all from Mrs. Broom?
Not for child care, no ma'am.
Nothing?
No ma'am.
Well, what was her excuse? You watched the child in September and October?
When I filled out the forms for the company CC&RC, they were going to be paying me the money. I received the first contract from them on October the 23rd, and I noticed that the rate that they were offering to pay was $2.84, which was not the agreement I had with Miss Broom. Miss Broom, when I brought the contract to her, she said, well, don't worry about it. I will reimburse you. I will pay you.
Why hadn't she paid you anything from September 11th until October? I want to get to you. Okay. Why hadn't she paid you anything? Why did you continue to watch her daughter if she hadn't paid you anything?
Because I filled out the contract with this company, and I was told by her that they would pay me. They told me it would take a couple of weeks for the paperwork to go through.
Okay, so now you've got middle of October, and they tell you they're going to pay you $2.84 an hour. You speak to her, she said, don't worry, I'll make up the difference.
Yes, she did.
What happened in the end of October, in the month of November? Because clearly, she wasn't giving you, according to you, any more money, even the difference, even if you were paid by the state. She wasn't.
Well, she always had an excuse as to why, and me being her friend, I didn't, I was trying to actually help her. She was having problems with her son in school. She was having financial problems being a single mother or whatever, and I was being very understanding of that, being a single mother myself.
Did you get any money whatsoever from the defendant?
No, ma'am.
Did you get any money from this organization?
Yes, ma'am. On December the 20th, I received a check from that organization.
For how much?
For $360. And here's the copy of the paperwork for that. Miss Broom and I met on October the 15th to go down to CC&RC to ask what was going on as to why I hadn't been paid. They stated that I had not had a TB test. So on the 19th, I had a TB test, and here's the record for that.
Okay.
Okay. Then they said it would be a few more weeks
All right, so those weeks that you babysat for her, 5 days a week, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I kept a...
Just a second. And how many weeks did you watch the child?
I don't have the weeks calculated, but I do have a tally for each month of September, October, November, December, the days that I watched a child, the hours that I watched a child, CC&RC provides you with this type of form that you turn in.
Okay. Now I'll hear you, Miss Broom.
Okay. First of all, I would like to iterate that my daughter did stay on the grounds. I took my lunch at 2:30 between 3 and picked her up. My children, both of them, were able to come to my job and sit in the conference room.
Listen, I'm not interested.
All right. Well, other than
Not
that,
interested.
my daughter would not be standing there crying. She called me on my cell phone. She says, "I'll take Kylie home with me." And then she says, "I can watch her if you want." She offered. I never asked her.
That's not
to,
true.
Which is why I never asked her to do anything. I told her that I had Kylie on the waiting list with CCRC, and if she, if we discuss it, if she didn't mind, she can watch her, and she can sign a contract with them, and they'll reimburse her. I pay CCRC a portion of whatever the child care is.
How much do you pay CCRC?
It all depends on what the provider is being charged. Here's a log of what I pay CCRC. She was paid. That's the bottom line. I don't owe her any money. There were things that were going on in her home. She was rather upset because I removed my child from her home.
That's not true.
There were things. She was an autistic daughter.
She stayed with, listen to me carefully, Miss Broom. Your daughter stayed with her part of September, October, November, part of December. And what you're telling me, your defense to this case is that your arrangement with her was that she was going to be paid by this organization.
Until she was paid, I paid her cash. Okay. And in the same instance, just like I paid her for ballet and tap, she was reimbursed for child care.
Yeah. Okay.
She was reimbursed for child care.
Really?
Not only did she, and she said, she's making a statement that she watched my daughter. We did things for each other. We were supposed to be friends. Quote unquote, I thought that's what we are. In the same instance, she made matters even worse. I didn't even want to deal with it, remove my child from her home. The things that went on in her home, I couldn't relate to it.
Forget. Okay. I'm not interested. You left your child there. That's the bottom line.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's lying.
No, I don't believe she's lying.
Well, I believe she's lying.
Well, I don't care what you believe. The most important thing is that I don't believe she's lying. I don't believe that for 1 second.
And later today,
You were on City Time romancing his girlfriend in his house. You didn't tell me it wasn't true, Mr. Flores.
It's not true.
Because I have a feeling you two guys are playing with each other a little bit.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rebecca Fowler says former friend Delva Broom owes for babysitting fees. Delva says Rebecca was paid by the county.
How much do you earn annually?
Probably about $33,000, $34,000 a year.
Okay.
That's the issue. She thought that I don't know what I'm a single mother. I'm not on welfare. I work hard.
That's fine.
And if I was not qualified for this, she knew that she signed a contract with CCRC. Until CCRC picked up her contract, I then paid her. Again, she's lying.
I don't believe she's lying.
Well, I believe she's lying.
I don't care what you believe. The most important thing is that I don't believe she's lying.
Well.
I believe because a babysitter, not somebody who's 12 years old, but somebody who is an adult, a very minimal, reasonable payment for an adult is $6 an hour.
Right. And
just a second. I don't believe that for 1 second that you paid her. Not for a moment. I believe that she was strung along.
No.
And she finally got a payment of $360, which is here in the paperwork. Put your hand down. Does it look like you're losing?
No, ma'am.
Where is your daughter currently?
My daughter is currently in an after-school program.
And when was she accepted in the after-school program?
After
what month?
January.
Right. So you stopped with her in December?
No, I did not. It was at the end of November.
Listen, you're a fast talker.
No.
Bottom line is, I believe that you agreed with her and you said, I can pay you $6 an hour. Ultimately, you said to her, fill out these forms because some of it, you can get back and then I can pay you the difference.
No.
That sounds right to me.
That's not true.
But
because
nobody is going to work for $2 an hour. Nobody works for $2 an hour.
Judgment
for the plaintiff. Quiet. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,612. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There's a reason why I took my child from her home. She's very vindictive. She's been convicted of child abuse.
I terminated the child care because by December the 15th, I hadn't been paid by her nor CC&RC.
She's a liar, welfare recipient.
Threatening to have me and my boyfriend beat up by people.
She's a liar. and she was paid. She's a liar.
She never paid me anything.
And now the next case. Suing fellow motorist, weight loss center salesperson Danielle Caruso for ramming her Nissan Sentra in a fit of road rage. Danielle says it was Marquita who hit her.
Now, this is case number 87 on the calendar in the matter of Wilcox versus Caruso. And look, we have visual aids.
Visual aids.
Visual aids.
Would you tell everybody to sit down, please?
Oh, yeah, have a seat.
Officer Byrd, we have a case here of two young ladies involved in a case of road rage. You don't have anything to do with this case other than you own this car that she was driving.
My father.
But you don't know anything about it.
No, nothing.
So you can sit behind the visual aid over there.
Sure.
Usually we have guys involved in road rage. You know, they get all those hormones and stuff they have all juiced up. Anyway, Ms. Wilcox, it is your claim that the defendant in an act of road rage caused an accident which caused your car to be damaged.
Yeah.
She says that you were the one responsible for this unfortunate incident that happened on the highway, or were it not for your actions, the accident would not have taken place. So first, why don't you tell me when this incident happened and where you were going?
On the morning of February 12th, 2004, I was on my way to work.
What time?
At about 9:20, between 9:20 and 9:30.
What time do you do at work?
10 o'clock.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a paralegal.
What kind of car were you driving?
A Nissan Sentra.
What year?
2002.
And you have a current valid driver's license and did at the time of the incident?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me what happened.
On the morning of February 12th, I was on my way to work. I was traveling southbound on Nob Hill Road, which Nob Hill Road, if you enter the left lane, it turns onto the expressway, which is State Road 84. We consider it to be I-595.
Which is your car?
I'm number 2. Mrs. Knight was number 1. As we entered on the expressway, I proceeded over into the center lane. As this lane ends, if you stay in this lane, you'll end up getting back off the expressway. Miss Knight was upset that as we went to get on the expressway, I entered in front of her to get on the expressway. She was behind me yelling obscenities, acting like she was going to bump the back of my car.
So maybe you cut her off?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely. Maybe you cut her off?
Yes.
And she was angry?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We entered on the expressway. I proceeded into the center lane. Mrs. Knight came around me from the center lane to make her way into the third lane, where she hit that vehicle, knocked her into the median. She then came around me. As she came around me, she gave me her middle finger, as to say, you know, what the middle finger means. She came around me. She then bumped the front of me to cut me off and knock me out of my lane. She knocked my car spun out of control over here, and then back over here where I landed into the path of the first car that she knocked out, which is vehicle 3. She continued east on State Road 84, where 2 cars had to follow her to bring her back.
Not your car?
No. I was knocked off into the median. As she came back yelling, she came back cursing.
Okay, stop. Go pick it up in a second.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, Your Honor. Actually, there's no way possible that I could have proceeded 3 lanes over, because at 9:30 in the morning on 595, it's a major highway.
Don't tell me what's impossible.
I have a picture here
Just
to show you. Okay, so accurate is, she was in front of me, like she said. I'm here, smashing her brakes on, flicking me off as I waved and killed her with kindness, because my mom always taught me, you kill people with kindness. Don't feed into them. So I didn't. I tried to get over another lane, and just chose right here. She got in front of me again, smashing on her brakes on a major highway, flicking me off as I'm laughing at her, because it was kind of comical to me. I was on my way to work as well. I did get over into the third lane because we still had the on-ramp lane. And as I did, I passed her. And when I passed her, I looked right at her and said, yeah, baby, you ain't in front of me anymore. I enjoyed that because you know what? She can't smash her brakes in front of me anymore. So I'm not going to rear end someone and be at fault. So I proceeded to pass her. As I proceeded to pass her, she sped up and tried to cut in front of me. She couldn't, because my car had a little more power. I had a Ford Taurus, and it did pass her. As I passed her, she tried to push me into this lane. I couldn't go because there was a BMW truck. I did not hit that BMW truck. It is not in the accident report. That BMW truck had to go into the side of the highway here to avoid me hitting her, because it was a near miss, like it says right here. At that point, I decided to stay in this lane. That's when she continued to come in this lane, swiped the back end of my car here, which, due to her, driving ability, spun her out into a NASCAR scene. which spun her out uncontrollable until she sideswiped the front end of the BMW truck, which ended them both up, her in the middle median grass area. I had no choice because there was so much traffic still by us to exit off, stop and call 911, which I did, and it's in the 911 report. At that point, by the time you exit, go through a shopping center and get back on the highway, it takes a couple minutes. I then got back on the highway this way, met at the accident in the median, and her hands are going all up in the air how I was wrong. Like I said, my mom told me to
May I see the police report, please?
I have the police report right here.
I'd like to see it.
Hey, Your Honor, she did hit the first car.
Just a second. Did you speak to the police officer? And you spoke to the police officer. Did the driver of the BMW speak to the police officer?
Yes, I spoke to each of us separately.
Okay, that's what it suggests here. Now, after the police officer questioned the plaintiff and the driver of the BMW, you were issued a citation for careless driving. And I'm going to quote what the police officer wrote in the police report, which says exactly what she says happened. That you were driving fast. It said that vehicle number 3 was traveling on the inside lane, that vehicle number 3 was knocked off the road because of your driving, that you went over from one lane all the way over to the other lane. That's not the way we drive.
Excuse me, Your Honor. That vehicle that is the witness of vehicle number 3 did not, they were on the highway prior to us entering the highway, so she did not see the reason why I was driving accurate. Exactly.
I don't know what she saw or not. All I know is you came onto the highway and you proceeded, because your car, according to this, was going faster than her car, to go all the way over into the far left lane. That's what this says you were doing. You were in a big hurry.
To avoid someone from smashing the brakes.
Madam, I do not believe you. I do not believe that this woman got in front of you and then smashed her brakes on so that you would hit her in the rear. She doesn't look like a psychotic to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says, fellow motorist Danielle Caruso rammed her Nissan Sentra in a fit of road rage. Danielle says Marquita was trying to cause an accident.
Let me see your damages, please.
This is my damages, the estimate from her insurance company, and this is my pictures of my car as well.
It's clear that she hit your car.
Yes, ma'am. 2 witnesses had to bring her back, and they both came back to the scene to let the police know that they wanted to make sure that she was coming back.
Okay. The objective things that I have are a police report, which is totally consistent with the plaintiff's story. I have pictures which clearly indicate to me that something hit her car, not that her car hit something else, which is totally consistent with this version of events. And I have a story that suggests to me that you were traveling too fast, that you wanted to get over into the fast lane. And not only did you almost cause an accident with another car, because you were going fast enough, and according to you, that road is very heavily traveled.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you could not possibly have gone from the far right lane to the far left lane. But you did. But you did, because you cut off the BMW.
The BMW.
All right. You lost your temper. You acted like a fool, and you shouldn't have.
I waved at her and smiled.
You acted like a fool. Did you have insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was your deductible?
It's $500.
Okay. So you're really looking for the $500 deductible?
Well, no, because in the state of Florida, we're not required to carry comp and collision. At the time, I did not carry comp and collision.
You did not?
No, ma'am.
Why didn't you carry collision?
At the time, it wasn't on my policy. I had a policy under my mother, and at the time, it just wasn't. We did not know.
Is the car fully paid for?
No, ma'am.
Well, if it's not fully paid for, you have to carry collision.
Yes, you do. In the state of Florida, it is required.
Just a second. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't have a car that's fully paid for, you are required to carry collision insurance. So you're going to send to me a copy of your insurance policy that was in existence on the car at the time of this accident in February. Now, did you have your car fixed?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I just haven't had it to pay for it yet. I'm still paying the car note. I just haven't had it to pay the damages.
Okay, this is what we're going to do, Miss Wilcox. I believe that the defendant is responsible for your damage to your car. And either your out-of-pocket expenses are $500,
yes, ma'am,
or they are $4,300. And I'm going to defer that judgment until you furnish me with the insurance policy that was in effect in February of 2004 when this accident happened. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
All right, guys. You may step down.
I did not hit her car. That's why my car had no damage.
She had a white car. My car is blue. I had white paint on my car. So how would she not have damage?
Miss Wilcox's hands were all up in the air, freaking out, yelling in road rage.
Mrs. Knight was totally upset that I got in front of her.
I just laughed and killed her with kindness.
She gave me the finger. She came back yelling.
I'm glad it's over with and done and taken care of.
Oh, God, it's just a lesson learned. I know there are crazy people out on the world that don't need to be driving, and I'm happy that justice was served today.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hartunian versus Godbond, step forward, please.
Massage therapist Carla Hartunian is suing political science professor Najib Godbond for medical bills and pain and suffering. Carla says Najib's 10-year-old daughter ran into her with a shopping cart.
Miss Hartunian, who is this lady?
This is my daughter. She was there right after the impact with the shopping cart.
Mr. Godband, this is your daughter. You're 9?
10.
According to your complaint, this little girl was shopping at a food store at the same time you were shopping. She was shopping with her father. And there was an accident, and she hit you with the shopping cart that she was rolling in your ankle, back of your ankles. And you are claiming injury to your ankles, to your back, requiring medical care, loss of wages, pain and suffering, etc., to the tune of $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says this was an accident. He's sorry that it happened. He agreed to pay your medical bills if there was a problem, but he thinks that you're trying to scam him.
Yes.
When did this accident happen, Ms. Cartonino?
June 15th, 2003.
And where were you shopping?
In the produce section of Walmart.
And you were shopping in the same place?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was standing still looking at strawberries, Your Honor, and I heard running footsteps. Before I could turn around to see what it was, I was struck in the back and in the ankle. I snapped backwards and went almost down. I was holding my shopping cart, so I did not go all the way down. And the pain was immediate and excruciating.
Okay. Just a second. So you were hit in the buttocks?
Yes, ma'am.
And in the ankle?
Yes, ma'am.
Did either of those two areas bleed?
No, but the ankle...
Just a second. Just answer my question.
No,
either
ma'am.
one of those two areas bleed. So the answer is no.
No.
Did you have any black and blue marks on your buttocks?
A small one.
Did you take a photograph?
Not of that.
Did you have any black and blue marks on your ankles?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take any photographs?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see the photograph. You can step up because Bert probably had an emergency. You don't look dangerous to me. Thank you. So it wasn't both ankles, it was one ankle.
One ankle.
One ankle that is clearly, it looks as if it's black and blue. So the extent of your injury, visually, was a black and blue ankle. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now what happened when you were hit? Did Mr. Gadband come up to you immediately?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He was very nice. He told me he was sorry and wanted to know exactly what happened. I told him I was crying at the time and in very much pain.
Where were you in pain? In your ankle?
In my ankle, right.
Okay. Go ahead.
He was very, very nice. Over and over, he reiterated, it's going to be fine. It's going to be all right. I'll take care of it. Do you want to go to the doctor? He said, I'm a professor at the university. I'm a responsible person. Don't worry. He said, it's fine. I'll take care of it. Very, very nice.
Good. What happened?
Well, the Walmart people brought me ice and a chair, and I sat down in the chair and put the ice on my ankle. I sat there for about 15 minutes. The pain started subsiding a little bit, and I stood and I saw that the ankle was not broken, that I could put weight on it. So Mr. Godband said, if you have any trouble, if you need to go to the doctor, I will pay for it. He wrote down his number and his name on the back of my grocery list.
Great. So far he's done everything right. So, I assume you went to a doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume you had medical bills.
Yes,
from
ma'am.
going to the doctor. So did you call him and tell him about your medical bills?
Yes.
When did you call him?
Maybe less than a week later.
Okay. And?
He was not nice anymore.
Go ahead.
He was very mean and hateful.
Well, just a second. What did you say to him?
I told him that after I got home that night, I began having pains in my back.
And the next day when I woke up, I could hardly stand up. It was very, very painful. So I did go to the doctor that day. The doctor did a chiropractic adjustment, did x-rays, told me to ice the back. After I'd gone to the doctor 2 or 3 times.
You're talking about a chiropractic?
Chiropractic and medical, both.
Okay. You have any medical records?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see your medical records from your medical doctor. How did you find the chiropractor?
My daughter had used him before, and he was a very gentle, good chiropractor.
How did you find him? You found him through recommendation?
Through my daughter, yes, ma'am.
And did you, after June 15th, 2003, consult with an attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the attorney take your case?
He was not ready to take the case. He did not refuse the case. He did not take the case. It was in limbo.
You went to see another attorney?
Eventually.
When?
About 6 months later.
So I gather that the doctor that you went to see, not the chiropractor, you consulted after you saw the attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And prior to having this accident with this 9-year-old child, you suffer from scoliosis. According to what you told the doctor, you were symptom-free as a result of your scoliosis, and now you have a backache.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but the only physiological problem that you could see as a result of being hit by this shopping cart was this ankle.
Correct? That you could see.
Correct. Okay, so when you spoke to Mr. Gadban, how much money did you tell him that you wanted?
I only asked him to pay my medical bills, Your Honor. Okay. That's why I couldn't understand
Good.
why.
And what were your medical bills? Let me see what your medical bills are. These are all the medical bills that you have?
I could no longer afford to go after he said he wouldn't pay.
You have $182 for physical therapy rehab. You have $88 for physical therapy rehab and $85 for physical therapy rehab. That's what you asked him to reimburse you for. But now you want $5,000 from Mr. Gadban.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain to me. I don't get it.
I am a massage therapist, Your Honor, and for several days after this accident, I could not give massages. I had to cancel appointments.
Okay, show me your book to show me how many appointments you had to cancel for the next few days.
I did not bring my book. I brought affidavits from the people that I canceled with.
I'll see those affidavits.
The quality of my service changed, Your Honor. I couldn't.
You may say that to me. I say I have a massage program. Okay. You have affidavits here. One of them says that your massage wasn't as smooth. I'm not paying any attention to that. You canceled, according to these affidavits, 2 appointments where you're supposed to make $100.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's $455. Okay. And?
I would like to continue the treatment. My lumbar vertebrae are still not in the shape they were in before the accident.
I have no idea about that. Show me the x-rays and bring me an expert. Do you have an expert in the
I have
x-rays?
the letter that I gave you from the chiropractor saying I needed 16 more treatments.
Your chiropractor may say you need 100 more treatments. I don't care. Don't make a big deal about nothing. This happened over a year ago. And if you were that sick and you require treatment, what you do is you get the treatment and you pay for it. You take out a loan if you need it, and then you sue them. But you can't come into court and say, I really would like to take those treatments a year later because I'm really still not feeling well. So far, you had losses of $455, and that's what I think, Mr. Gadban, you should be responsible for. The rest of it, she can't document. And if she can't document it, there's a reason that the attorneys didn't take your case, madam.
I still have pain, Your Honor.
Listen to me. It was an accident in a supermarket with a 9-year-old child.
I know.
It's not your retirement. You are not going to retire on this injury.
I'm not trying
Judgment
to
for the
retire.
plaintiff in the amount of $455. That's all.
It's a minor accident.
It may have been an accident, but I think that Mr. Godby needs to teach his child how to act appropriately in public.
I just was not even really power walking.
I still have pain in my back.
Pushing the cart, and then all of a sudden this lady just fell to the floor.
My body is my tool.
I said, oh, I'm so sorry, what happened?
Now the quality of my service has been compromised.
Versus move. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Beverly Lopez and her boyfriend, 20-year-old waiter George Chantarasaka, are suing George's former lover, 19-year-old tutor Saram Mook, for breaking into their home and stealing property.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Chantarasaka.
Chantarasaka. What's your first name?
George.
George. Do you mind?
No.
According to your complaint, this young lady is George's former girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend.
Former, that's former.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
And it is your claim that she broke into the apartment that you now share with George.
Yes.
Broke the door to your bedroom, vandalized the room, and took some of your property. Your defense is that it's your apartment, and you have the right to go into your apartment because you're on the lease.
Yes.
And you did take some of her property, but that was a mistake.
Yes, I did.
But that you gave it back to her.
Yes, I did.
When did you break up with George?
We broke up a week before I left, which was about May 24th.
And when did you come back to the apartment on the incident that Miss Lopez is complaining about?
A week after June 11th.
And when did you move into the apartment, Miss Lopez?
I think the last week of May.
And you moved in with George?
Yes.
So now he's your boyfriend?
He's been my boyfriend. We broke up for about a month, and that's when he got with her.
So you went from her to her, back to her, is that right? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
You must have some secret something, George, and if you do, it's got to be a good secret, because I don't see it. Now, you came back June 18th. Tell me why you came into the apartment. What were you looking for?
I came back to the apartment to drop off his wallet because he left it in my cousin's car. And I was there to pick up some of my stuff and take it back to California with me. Little did I know, my door was locked. So out of anger, I broke my door.
The door that you had that you say was locked, is that a door to a bedroom that you had shared with George?
Yes.
So it was George's bedroom as well?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I broke off the doorknob, went in, took my stuff, and I also took her stuff out of anger.
And where did you put them when you took them?
I actually took it with me to California, but then I realized my stupidity, and I brought it back the next day.
You're lying.
Just a second. Did you get it back?
No, I didn't get any of my stuff back.
Show me that you brought it back and gave it to her.
I have a witness who can't come in because she's a minor.
Well, then if you have a witness that I can't question, then you have no witness.
You're right. I don't. But I did bring it back. Why would she wait for a month to file a report saying that I stole her stuff? I called you and I told you that I wanted my things
Listen,
back.
Miss Lopez, don't speak to her. Speak to me.
Okay.
Did you get your property back?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Do you have a bill for the replacement of the doorknob?
No, I don't.
I don't know.
But this is the doorknob. This is how it looks when she broke it off.
I don't need the doorknob, madam. She says she broke the doorknob. I need what it's going to cost to fix it.
Well, we don't have the bill.
You have a list of items that she took out of your room?
I have a police report.
Well, you originally told the police, madam, that all the stuff that was taken was original value and current value were the same, $900. Why are you suing her now for $4,500?
Because my things are actually worth more than $900.
You mean they increased in value since you filed the police report?
No, I didn't.
Listen to me. If you file a police report and they ask you what the value is and you gave them their original value and the current value, I assume that when you filed that police report you were trying to be as accurate as possible. Is that right?
Yes, but at the time I wasn't really thinking because I was really...
And now you're thinking? Is what you're telling me now you're thinking? Heaven help me. You have no right to take up property and you have no proof that you returned it. I have no idea how much it's going to cost to fix the doorknob because you don't bring me a bill.
And she
What?
broke my video camera too.
You have a bill to have it fixed?
No, I don't.
Well, what am I supposed to... I'm not a mind reader.
Your Honor, I did not break his video camera.
I'm not considering the video camera because people have to know that when they come to court, they have to be prepared. They have to be prepared with documents. They have to be prepared with receipts. They have to be prepared.
But
I'm speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They have to be prepared with an estimate of what it's going to cost to fix property if there's an allegation of damage. If you don't have that, the judge isn't going to get it for you, George. You got it?
Yes.
Good. As far as you're concerned, you made this report soon after the incident occurred. You told the police what happened. You told the police what your property was worth. You told them at that time that it was worth $900, which is probably a stretch. Certainly that stretch isn't going to be stretched into $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
How does that seem, Mr. Bell?
I think they're just angry and jealous.
I don't know what I did.
I had her boyfriend for a month. He doesn't want her anymore. She called my phone and made threats. She's psycho. Of course, she's capable of doing things.
Crazy.
The matter of Kurtz versus Mansfield. Step forward, please.
Engineer Andrew Kurtz is suing teacher Carolyn Mansfield for car repair bills. Andrew says Carolyn's unleashed dog ran into his Porsche.
Mr. Kurtz, you were driving along a country road, and according to your complaint, the defendant's dog was running out and hit your car. And you want Miss Mansfield to be responsible for the $1,000 deductible that you had to pay after your insurance covered the rest of the damage to the car.
That's correct.
Miss Mansfield says that you had to have been going too fast on that road, that your car hit her dog, and that she paid over $1,200 in vet bills for the dog. And since you were probably each at fault, since the dog was out, which is how the dog came to collide with your car in the first place, she's taking care of her bills and you should take care of yours. Right?
That's absolutely right.
Well, that's your position anyway.
Yes, well, that is my position.
Where do you live?
I live in Placerville, California.
Are there any rules and regulations where you live with regard to dogs being leashed or being confined in either a yard or your home?
I understand there is a leash law. There's supposed to be.
So your dog, I assume, does not comply with the leash law.
My dog complies whenever she can. However, there are some holes in my neighbor's fence, and occasionally the dog has gotten into the neighbor's yard. On the day in question, I did not know the dog was out of our yard. In fact, my husband and I were getting ready to go to a Christmas party. It's December 21st, about 4 o'clock, and I turned to my son. I said, "We're getting ready to go to the party now. See you later." And Charlie said, "Well, I'm going out to the backyard to play with the dogs." And I turned around, I saw one of our...
How many dogs do you have?
Two. I saw one of the dogs...
Pardon? What kind of dogs are they?
They're mutts. They were both strays that eventually showed up, and we just didn't quite get them to the pound, and now they're ours.
And how long have you had them?
7 years.
And how often does this particular dog get out of your yard?
Well, anymore, not at all, but then, at that time, pretty often.
Okay. So you were on notice that your dog knew how to get out.
But my dog, this is the truth, Judge Judy, my dog is extremely streetwise. I know that sounds crazy, but this dog had grown up, had about 2 years in this area. It was a wild dog. We had seen it around. And I decided to try to tame the dog and so that I could catch it. Animal control would not pick it up unless we could contain it. So over a period of about 6 months, I was able to tame the dog. And by then, I just kind of fell in love with her. She has absolutely become a part of our family. And this dog never ran into the road or in front of a car. The dog would literally go to a driveway and look both ways before it crossed. People would note that. It's incredibly smart, or it couldn't have survived 2 years in this neighborhood where people would come up from the Bay Area in their fancy sport cars driving.
Miss Mansfield, listen to me very carefully. We're getting a little beyond us.
Okay, but I have some pictures for you.
We're getting beyond us. Now, what time of the day were you riding down the country road?
It was 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Where were you going?
Going to an apple orchard.
In December.
Miss Mansfield. Miss Mansfield.
Is the weekend before Christmas. We're going up there to get some apple cider and some apple pies.
Okay. Tell me what happened with Miss Mansfield's dog.
I was driving along the road, and the dog just came straight out into the road, and he was in full stride when I hit the dog with the car.
Did you stop?
Yeah, I just took my foot off the gas and watched the dog in the rearview mirror. My fiance Christina was just like, oh my God, we just hit a dog. And then I pulled over at the first point that I could pull fully clear of the roadway.
And what did you do? Put your pictures down. Okay.
We got out of the car and walked back towards where the dog had limped off the roadway, and I walked back into the woods. At that point, I met an old man and a young boy there. I asked them if they saw a dog. I told them I just hit a big black dog, and he said that it sounded like the neighbor's dog, and then we found it just laying on its side.
And what did you do?
The man sent the young boy down to the Mansfield's residence to get someone to come up to the dog. We just stood there with the dog, and it was just laying on its side, panting. And then Charlie, her son, brought a pickup truck up, and we put a blanket down, put the dog on the blanket, and lifted the dog into the back of the truck.
Okay. Can I see pictures of your car?
Yes.
Got pictures of the car there? I'm surprised that what's this dog's name? Lucky?
Lucky.
He sure was lucky. Well, because I'm surprised that this dog survived.
Lucky was not supposed to survive overnight. She had severe injuries.
Okay, but she did?
She's among the land of the living.
Good, and she's now in a fenced-in yard.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're using the buried wire with the electric shock, and she's...
That sounds like what you should have been using before.
And that's exactly why I paid my own vet bills, and I decided I would not sue somebody for hitting the dog because I was trying to take my responsibility and pay the dog's vet
Ms.
bills.
Mansfield, you have a law where you live that says that dogs have to be under your control at all times, either on a leash if they're out, in a fenced yard, or in your home. But for the fact that you broke the law, your dog would not have been hit.
Mm-hmm. May I show you some of these pictures and explain one thing?
You can show me anything you like.
Okay.
You must accept the fact that but for the fact that you broke the rules, your dog would not have been hit.
Okay, but I contend the dog may not have been in the road. We have a friend who was killed right there where Mr. Kurtz pulled over. He ran right into that tree. If you don't negotiate that turn, you're going to hit that tree. And in fact, before you hit it, you will go straight over our neighbor's driveway.
Listen to me!
To lay down.
Miss Mansfield, I don't care if he went up into your neighbor's living room.
But that would be private
listen to
property.
me.
Okay.
If he went up into your neighbor's living room and hit your dog, the rule says your dog must be under your control at all times. But for the fact that you, who had notice that your dog got out frequently and roamed around and was safe most of the time. Most of the time, she was really smart and really lucky. Didn't hurt anybody, didn't get hurt herself. This time she did, and it's your fault. Oh, listen to me. Only your fault because his car did not jump up on your front porch and go into your living room and hit Lucky while she was sitting on the sofa watching TV. That didn't happen.
Excuse me, but if it was going at an unsafe speed in a residential area, it could have been Dylan. It could have been the little boy at the end of the driveway with my dog.
It could have been E.T. It was your dog that was violating the law. You owe him $1,000. That's his deductible. Judgment for the plaintiff. Step out. Goodbye.
Thank you, Judge. Occasionally dogs get out. If people are driving the way they're supposed to, they should be able to stop.
The dog has to be on a leash or you're going to be liable for the damage that it causes.
My dog suffered great injuries.
It's a tragedy what happened, really.
I spent 3 months doing physical rehabilitation on the dog.
It's been a lot of time and from my side, too, and money.
I couldn't work. I mean, I had to work with this dog for 3 months to get it back to life.
It was very scary.
I just think she deserved a little more justice than that.
I felt awful for the dog.
All parties in the matter of Ng versus Riley. Step forward.
Eye care professional Monica Ng is suing her one-time golf partner, technical consultant Steve Riley, for medical and dental bills. Monica says she was hit in the face by Steve's golf ball.
Missing, according to your complaint, you were playing golf and you were in a foursome?
Yes.
And Mr. Riley was in your foursome?
Yes.
And you got hit with a golf ball that he sliced. You want him to pay for all of your medical bills, you had dental problems, et cetera, et cetera. And Mr. Riley says, sometimes happens when you play golf. Not every shot's a perfect shot. It's part of the risk you assume when you play the game. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this happen, Miss Ng?
On January 31st at the Lakewood Country Club.
And how long have you been playing golf with Mr. Riley?
I've never played with him before.
So you were teamed up that day?
By the starter at the country club.
What hole were you playing when this incident happened?
The 9th hole.
And who teed off first?
The guys teed off first, and then I teed off last because I tee off from the ladies' tees.
After you teed off, everyone left the tee, is that right?
Yes, we all walked to our balls.
And was your ball in front of Mr. Riley's ball?
It was horizontal, diagonal to his ball.
And he shot first?
Yes.
And you were watching him?
Yes, I was watching him the whole time.
Why didn't you stand behind where he was?
For slow play, any reasonable experienced golfer would walk to their ball so that you don't delay play, because slow play is the number one problem with golfing.
No, the number one problem with golfing is getting hit with a golf ball. So when I was reading your complaints, and I've been out on the golf course, although I am not a proficient golfer, since I don't know who I'm playing with, as you didn't know who you were playing with, and you're not sure of their skill, I wouldn't get into a position where you were anywhere in harm's way. I would stand well behind that person.
I felt I was not standing in a location where I was in harm's way.
But you were, right? Because you didn't play golf with him before. You didn't know whether he was a good player or a bad player, whether he was sliced, whether he was straight, whatever. But you don't think that you have any responsibility to worry about yourself?
Yes, I have the responsibility to worry about myself, but I was standing in a location next to my ball. I was watching him the whole time.
You think he aimed at you?
No, he did not aim at me. It was an accident, but still, he's liable for any damages or injury caused by his actions, as stated in the golf course rules at the Lakewood Country Club.
Well, take a look at the rules of the Lakewood Country Club and see what they say.
Safety practices.
Let me see what the safety practices are. Yeah, well, this says that any person entering or playing on the golf course assumes full responsibility for his or her personal safety. That's you. And property. Players are liable for any accident, injury, and or property damage caused by their actions. Well, you're saying that his actions caused you to be injured.
Correct.
I'm saying your actions caused you to be injured. Miss Ang, my dear, when you play golf, there's a golf ball. That golf ball doesn't always go where it's supposed to go. Have you watched professionals play golf?
Yes.
Have you seen professionals sometimes slice their ball and it goes into a gallery?
Yes.
You think that they're liable if their ball hits somebody? They're not. Players not liable. That's what the game is about. Somebody hits a very hard ball. Sometimes it goes where it's supposed to go. Sometimes it doesn't go where it's supposed to go. If it always went where it was supposed to go, nobody would watch the game.
We have a verbal agreement after the injury. He was very apologetic for hitting me.
Yes.
And he gave me a cellular number so I can contact him so that I can get his home address and mail him the medical expenses.
Did you say that you would cover the medical expenses, Mr. Riley?
What I said was that if she wanted to go to the emergency room right then, I would help her with expenses. I did not say I would cover a week off of work. I did not say
Absolutely not.
Right.
You're not responsible for a week
Right.
off from work. You're not responsible for her pain and suffering. You're not responsible for any of that.
Right.
So did you give him the medical bill from the emergency room?
I had not received it yet when I wrote him that certified letter.
Fine. What was your bill from the emergency room? $602 with the emergency bills. Is that right, sir? Now that you agreed to pay, according to you.
Yes.
Fine. Anything else?
Yes. A few months later, I noticed the back of my tooth was swollen, and I went to the dentist, and that's when they told me that I had ligament damage due to trauma.
Could be. That's not what he agreed to pay for. He agreed to pay for your emergency room bills. But for the fact that he agreed to pay for the emergency room bills, he would not be responsible. You assumed the risk when you got on the golf course of whatever happens when you play golf, unless, of course, he picked up his club and flung the club in anger, or if he hit you with his club, or if he ran you over with a golf cart. That you don't assume the risk, but you do assume the risk that somebody may not hit the ball straight, so you have to make sure that you don't put yourself in harm's way. And if being in a position where you were a little bit of a slow player is more important than keeping yourself out of harm's way, that's a choice that you make. He can't guarantee where his golf ball's going to go. If he could, he'd be Tiger Woods' partner, right?
Absolutely.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $602. Thank you.
Nice step out.
I think the judge made a knowledgeable decision.
I saw him hit his ball, and it came right directly at me. I dodged, but not fast enough.
Fortunately, it was a glancing blow and not frontal.
It was a horrible incident. I wanted to forget about it.
I did agree to pay for the emergency room costs, and that's fair.
I know he did not mean to hit me.
26-year-old factory worker Bree Berry is suing her ex-boyfriend, 28-year-old waiter John Hayden Jr., for totaling her car. Bree says John is a con artist.
Now, this is case number 26 on the calendar in the matter of Berry versus Hayden Jr. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Berry, Mr. Hayden was your live-in boyfriend until
Yes,
a while
ma'am.
back, and according to your complaint, he took your car without permission one day, drove it. You don't know what happened, but he says he fell asleep at the wheel and he totaled your car. You want the value of that car because you say you were forced to purchase another car, and your monthly payments have, of course, increased as a result of purchasing the new car.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hayden says that he had an agreement with you.
Yes,
Is that right?
Yes.
And that he doesn't owe you anything for the new car. So he's going to tell me all about that agreement in a moment, and I am anxiously awaiting to hear the details of it.
Me too.
Good. We'll all wait together. When did you live with Mr. Hayden, Miss Barry?
I lived with them for about 3 months from at the end of December until about the end of February.
Had you known him for a while before he moved in with you?
We used to go to high school together.
What prompted you to move in together?
I was conned into it. John is a very good con artist.
How were you conned into it?
He figured that we could help each other out by, he didn't have anywhere to stay at that time, and he was working and that he could help me with my bills. And that's not how it happened.
So he moved into your apartment?
Yes, ma'am, just like that. Conned his way right in.
When did he take your car and total it?
It was on February 11th.
Tell me about that, Mr. Hayden.
Well, I did have permission to drive the car. I drove the
Your
car.
Honor.
I had my own set of keys. I drove the car on several occasions. And
Tell me about February 11th, sir.
February 11th, I woke up like I normally did and went to my where I have to go.
Just a second. Oh, listen to me. February 11th, Judge, I woke up at...
Judge, I woke up.
Look at me. Here.
I woke up around 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
And you got out of bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me.
I don't want to hear you yet. He's talking. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You got out of...
I got out of bed.
And who was in bed with you? Look
Look
at me. Eyes.
The plaintiff.
Are you sure? Don't speak. Remember what day of the week it was, sir?
It was probably around the end of the week.
Are you sure about that?
As sure as I can be.
What do you mean as sure as you can be? Because, Mr. Hayden, I assume you work, right?
I did work until probably 2 weeks ago.
Fine. You were working on February 11th because
Yes.
you started to say to me before, I got up my usual time and I was going to do usual things, so I assume you got up 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning because you were going to...
To my rehabilitation.
What kind of rehabilitation, sir?
It's
not an answer.
Well, I'd rather not go into it.
Well, you have to tell me, sir, what you were doing, because I'm going to ask you specific questions, and I don't give a rat's behind what you prefer not to go into. Put your hand down.
I was going to get my treatment for my methadone.
Okay, so you were going to your methadone program.
Yes.
I've heard that before, sir. You know, I've been a judge for a long time. You have a morning methadone program?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And where had you been the night before, sir?
At home.
All night?
Yes, ma'am.
So you got up 6 or 7 o'clock to go and get your methadone at the program. And you were, in fact, working. So where were you working?
At Uno's Pizzeria on Beachmont Avenue.
What time do they open?
Around 11 o'clock.
What time do you do at your methadone program?
Anywhere between 6 and...
Look at my eyes.
10.
So what were you doing getting up at 6 o'clock, sir, when you didn't have to be at the pizza place until 11?
Because sometimes I go in early so I can get a few extra hours in.
Good. So you were being conscientious.
Yes, I worked 3 doubles a week plus the other days that I worked. I worked 6 days a week. 3 of them were doubles and 3 of them were regular days.
So you got up between 6 and 7. And you had your own set of keys to the car. You got into the car. And what happened, Mr. Hayden?
I was traveling on my way to the clinic, and I fell asleep at the wheel.
Well, according to you, you'd been home the whole night before. Well, how come you fell asleep at the wheel?
Well, not real sure. I've
had problems in the past with driving, falling asleep.
How many times in the past have you had problems driving?
Well, I've never actually wrecked from it, but, I've had several close calls.
And when was that?
Years past.
Not when you were with Miss Berry.
No.
Did you ever tell Miss Berry before she gave you permission to use the car according to you and give you your own set of keys to the car that you've had near misses with falling asleep at the wheel?
I'm sure she was aware.
No, I didn't ask you that question, Mr. Hayden. And I want you to trust me, sir. On your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day. Did you ever tell her that you had near misses of falling asleep at the wheel of a car?
I'm not sure.
Good, that's an answer. Did he ever tell you that?
No, ma'am.
Of course not. Now, was this Miss Berry's only means of transportation, or did she have a garage full of cars?
She had 2 vehicles.
Tell me about the 2 vehicles that she had.
One was a Taurus and the Civic.
And which car were you driving?
The Civic.
Is that the car you were driving, the Taurus?
No, ma'am. That I had a '95 Taurus that had been broken down for a couple months. My only means of transportation was the Honda Civic.
Okay, Miss Berry, tell me about the 10th of February, which was the day before this incident happened.
The 10th of February, ma'am, I was getting tired of being in this little relationship with John because he wasn't working like he said he was. And I had asked him that, pretty soon you need to find somewhere to go. You need to, go live off somebody else. So he had called me from work and asked me to come home so that we could talk about it. And when I got home, about 11 or 12, and John was already drunk and nodding out, because that's one thing that I couldn't stand about him, is that he would always nod out, and he's burnt my furniture on the floor. So anyways, he slept on the couch that night. I slept in the bed. I woke up the next morning. My keys are gone. I always leave my purse next to my bed. I always take my purse everywhere I go. The keys were gone. I got a phone call about 11 from an officer stating that John Hayden was in the hospital, that he had totaled my car. So I called down to the hospital, and John just acted like everything would be all right, that he took my car.
So what you're saying is he's driven your car before. There's no question about that. Is that right?
Yes, but he did not have an extra set of keys.
But he had driven your car before, with your permission.
Not with my permission. I would get up in the morning and he would take it.
Well, then what you have to do is you change the locks and you put him out of your house.
That's too much.
You change the locks and put him out of your house if he's stealing your car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. He says ex-boyfriend John Hayden Jr. totaled her car. John says he fell asleep at the wheel on his way to a methadone clinic.
Now there is something that you're going to tell me that would suggest that you had an agreement with her with regard to a new car. So why don't you tell me about that?
After the car was totaled, we agreed that if she was able to get a new car, which she had no job except for about 2 or 3 weeks.
That's a lie.
So
it doesn't matter if I work or not.
Miss Berry, what part of don't speak don't you understand?
I'm sorry.
When you're on welfare, you can barely...
Oh, my...
I'm not asking you what she did. I'm asking you what your agreement was.
You can barely make your rent anyway. If it wasn't for me co-signing, she could have never got the car to begin with.
My mama...
Miss Berry, if you open your mouth again, I'm going to dismiss your claim.
Okay.
You don't want that, do you?
No.
And I'm serious, you know. I don't say things and then take it back. Do you understand?
I understand.
I want you to tell me the conversation that you had with Miss Berry, sir, with regard to your co-signing a loan for her.
I said, you put down the money you have as a down payment, and then I'll put down what I have, and if they let it go through with both of us being, with me being the co-signer, then you will have your car, and you will go from there.
Did she own the Civic free and clear?
I do not know.
As far as you know, she wasn't making payments because according to you, Miss Berry was on welfare. She could hardly make the rent.
Exactly.
So she wasn't making car payments. So what you're telling me is she took whatever little money she had and you put in money. And how much money did you put in?
Probably $100.
And you put in $100 and then you co-signed a loan for her so that she could buy a new used car.
Yes.
And how much was the loan for?
About $8,000.
So what you're telling me is because you totaled her car, you obligated her to pay $8,000 for a vehicle to do whatever she had to do. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
Then tell me what you're telling me, Mr. Hayden. I'm listening.
I would have been more than happy to stay there with her and be, and help her make her car payments. But she cheated on me when I called her before I came home because I couldn't get a hold of her one day. And she said, well, an ex-boyfriend of mine spent the night tonight, and I don't want you to come here trying to cause any problems. Granted, this is where I was living, paying bills, giving her money. I make about $500 or $600 a week, and, I just would give her money.
If you had, sir, $500 or $600 a week, why don't you get your own car?
Because I don't have a license.
So, Mr. Hayden, so you took her car and drove her car without a license?
I didn't know that at the time. I have an $80 reinstatement fee to pay, which I'm going through now.
Mr. Hayden, you got more stories than Damon Runyon. The fact that you tell me that I gave her $100 towards the car, did he give you $100 towards the car?
ma'am.
No, of course he didn't.
Of course he didn't.
Of course he didn't.
I had
Give
to
your
pay for
shh. What year car was this?
a 93.
Do you have the blue book value of it?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it?
Would you like to see all the evidence or just that?
I'd like to see whatever you have, Miss Berry.
And I don't live in Section 8.
You move people in and out all the time.
Oh, goodness.
Ooh, this looks like some bad accident. What did you hit?
A telephone pole. And, she didn't call to see if I was okay. She called to see if her car was okay.
That should have told you something.
Yeah,
Mr.
it
Hayden. Should have.
Yeah, she's self-centered, and that karma will get her.
Car was more important than you were.
Exactly.
Right. I am assuming that you are now involved with somebody else.
Yes, ma'am. I was
Just
in drug use.
No, listen to me. I assume at least in part it was because of somebody else. Part of it may be because of his continued drug use, according to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Whatever. That is not a testament to your good judgment.
It's a bad judgment I
No,
made.
very bad. And I don't care whether you're exercising bad judgment if you're the only one involved, but you have a 5-year-old child. And you don't move somebody into your house for 1 hour who you claim is getting his methadone, but using in addition to that.
That's why I got rid of him.
Just a second. That's not true, madam, because according to you, after he came out of the hospital, you allowed him to move back into your home for a month. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And you don't do that if you're a responsible parent of a 5-year-old. You understand me?
Yes,
ma'am. Good.
She's not a responsible parent.
No, and you're a model citizen.
More than that.
Okay.
At least I just use, I don't sell.
That may be, sir, but you still owe her $2,500 for the car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500.
What is our excuse? You may step
Bird,
out.
he can have his water later, please.
John Hayden is a good con artist.
I can really care less.
Anybody that John owes money to,
She's wrong.
you should take him on the Judge Judy show
Bree's a liar.
so you can get your money also.
This is over.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tarter versus Hughes. Step forward, please.
Bus driver Catherine Tarter is suing her estranged son-in-law, 25-year-old salesman Donald Hughes, for the cost of a trailer. Donald says Catherine is angry about his pending divorce from her daughter.
Miss Tarter, the defendant is your soon-to-be ex-son-in-law. And according to your complaint, he owes you some money for a trailer. Is that right?
Yes.
The defendant says he's paid you a substantial amount of money for the trailer, doesn't owe you any more. You have the motorhome that went with the trailer. He doesn't have it in his possession. It's not on his property. I assume this is your daughter?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
4 years. Yeah.
You have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children?
I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, and then I had 2 sons that came with the marriage that are still dear to me.
And who does that child live with?
I have sole custody.
Is that after a hearing, after a trial?
Yes.
Does their mother have visitation with the children?
No, she does. She has 2 hours supervised visits a week.
Does she exercise the visitation?
Sometimes.
Prior to the divorce, did you have a reasonable relationship with Mr. and Mrs. Tarter?
Yes, I did.
Is that right?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 girls.
How many grandchildren do you have?
3.
How much money was this trailer?
It was $4,000.
Just for the trailer?
Just for the trailer, and the motorhome was $4,000, so they agreed upon $8,000.
And how much do you say it was, sir?
It was $4,000 altogether for both of them.
Is there a writing with regard to that?
We had a verbal agreement.
Is there a writing with regard to that, is my question.
No.
How much have you paid them for the trailer?
I paid them $1,950 for the trailer and the motorhome together.
Well, you only have the
I only have the trailer.
trailer. Did Mr. Hughes pay you $1,950?
No, ma'am.
How much did he pay you?
The motorhome broke down.
I'm not
and
talking
then-
about the motorhome.
Okay, well,
He doesn't have the motorhome.
He paid us, I know, they returned it, so therefore all the payments that were paid individually towards the motorhome and the trailer were forfeited. And they were always...
Forfeited by whom?
By us. It was written down where when he paid us money that $75 would go towards the motorhome and $75 would go towards the trailer. When one was given back in case they decided they couldn't afford it, or that it broke down, which the motorhome did, and they couldn't afford to fix it, they gave it back to us. So therefore, the motorhome payments, which were $425, was forfeited, and then $425 was credited towards the utility trailer.
All I'm asking you is that in writing someplace?
I typed up a legal contract because
Did he
at first
sign it?
He refused to sign it.
The answer is you do not have that in writing. Is that correct?
My daughter signed it, and
I don't
he
care what
did
your
not.
daughter signed, madam. I mean, I happen to think that you're missing a few screws, and I'm going to tell you why. You have a 1.5-year-old granddaughter. Your soon-to-be ex-son-in-law has sole custody, which suggests to me that if you want to maintain a relationship, and it seems to me you enjoyed a reasonable relationship with him before, if you want to enjoy a reasonable relationship with your granddaughter, you should keep him on your good side and not sue him, because it would appear to me that your daughter had to be a pretty deficient person in order to end up at the end of a custody dispute with 2 hours a week supervised visitation. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Why would a normal person who has 3 grandchildren risk the wrath of their custodial parent over nonsense? Over nonsense. He's paid your money. And how much child support is your daughter paying for her daughter?
She's not, and they're not divorced yet.
I don't care whether they're divorced or not. If she were the custodial parent and taking care of the child, and he came to me and said, in the course of a legal dispute, and I said to him, how much money are you paying for child support? And he said, well, we're not divorced yet, so I'm not paying for anything. I would wipe up the floor with him. I asked you a simple question. The simple question was, how much money was paid to you by him for either the trailer and or the motorhome?
$425 for the trailer and $425 for the motorhome.
Are you passive aggressive? How much money was paid in total for both things? Don't give me $425 for each. How much money do you say was paid in total?
$850.
Okay. And you say $1,950.
Yes, I do.
Can you prove that to me?
No, I can't. I have no receipts due to my house being taken from my wife, and then when I got my house back, I had no paperwork, no receipts, no pink slip.
They say $850. What makes you think it was $1,950?
Because I paid on time, sometimes a couple days late, but every month was paid since October of 2002 until December of 2003.
So far, is that right?
No, Your Honor, I have a payment schedule here showing. They were to pay $26 for insurance.
I'm not talking about insurance. I'm talking about how much money he actually paid to you. Okay. $1,450 is, by your calculations, what he paid to you. Not $850, $1,450, based upon this.
Your Honor, those payments were divided up between the motorhome and the trailer.
I just told you, he doesn't have the motorhome. You do.
No, we've sold it since then.
Well, that's not my problem. That's not his problem.
Well, I asked him to return the motorhome when he refused the one payment and took it back.
Miss Tarter, you're not following me. If you think they owe you anything for the motorhome, get it from your daughter. Do I make myself clear? You are a very foolish lady. A very foolish lady. If I were in your position, I would not alienate the father, the custodial parent of my granddaughter. I would not alienate him. And for a very stupid reason, money. You did.
It's been going on for over a year.
No, that's not true. Because December of 2003, which is not over a year, he made a payment to you of $500. That's according to your own record.
But we sold it to him on March of '03, is when the trailer and the motorhome was sold to them.
Did you hear what I said to you? It's not been going on for over a year. He made a payment to you of $500 in December of 2003.
Yes, he contacted.
When was the last time your daughter sent any money for the support of his child?
That's not an issue. They're not divorced
It's
yet.
an issue, madam, if you're using your brains. March of 2003. Was she employed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where was she employed?
At Child Time.
Until when?
October of 2003.
And what did she do with her money?
I thought she was paying bills, but she wasn't. She was using it on drugs.
Was she placed in a rehab?
I placed her in a rehab in January.
Did she stay?
She stayed for 60 days, Your Honor. And then she was supposed to go to a halfway house, and she ended up getting kicked out of there for doing it again, drinking.
Where are her other two children?
One lives with his father, and the other one lived with the grandparents.
Ms. Tarter, I find that the defendant has paid you $1,450 for a trailer. I find that your agreement was $4,000 for the trailer and the motorhome, not $8,000. Whatever deficiency there is, I suggest you get it from your daughter. The case is dismissed. That's all.
I don't want my daughter to not see her mom or her grandparents or anything, but I see where the daughter gets it from.
He's refused me custody of my daughter. He's refused me parental rights to my daughter, visitation to my daughter, and everything else. I've done everything that the courts have asked me to do.
She kidnapped my daughter from when we were getting Christmas pictures. She ran me over with a car.
I was having enough at the time.
Her drug use, and just tore the whole family apart.
I told him to bring the trailer back or I would report it stolen. He says, well, you might as well report it stolen and you can kiss your granddaughter goodbye because you're never going to see her again.
Hopefully it'll work out. I really do, because it's not about me, her, or the grandparents. It's actually about the children.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gerber versus Holtmeyer. Step forward, please.
27-year-old nurse Lauren Gerber is suing her former friend, nurse's aide Gregory Holtmeyer, for punching her windshield. Gregory claims it never happened.
Ms. Gerber, the defendant was a friend of yours, and it is your claim that he twice damaged your car. You want him to pay for the damage. Mr. Holtmeyer said he never damaged your car. You're just annoyed because he no longer wants to be a friend of yours, and he's moved on to a relationship with somebody, a relationship that he believes you wanted to have with him, but he wasn't interested. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I read your answer. If there's anything that I said that's wrong, please correct me.
That's close.
I like to be precise.
That was precise.
Don't be annoying, Mr. Holtmeyer. All right, Miss Gerber, when was the first time he damaged your car?
Was in February of 2002.
Under what circumstances?
He was pulling my vehicle out of the driveway, which was next to my house, and he got a little too close to the house, and it hit the driver's side mirror, which shattered and also scraped the left fender.
And you were in the car at the time?
I was in the passenger seat.
When was the second time he damaged your car?
September of 2003.
Tell me about that.
We had been at my apartment watching a Cowboys-Giants game, and on the way home, punched the inside of the windshield with his fist, which he wears a Dallas ring on, and that's what hit the glass and shattered.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
And what did he say at that time? That was September of 2003.
That he was sorry and go get an estimate. He'd pay whatever the estimate was for it.
Between February 2002 and September of 2003, did you let him drive your car?
On occasion.
How come you stopped being friends?
In October, we had made plans for him to move in with me. His mother had to move to St. Louis, and he had nowhere to stay. The day before he was scheduled to move in, I hadn't heard from him. The day of, I still hadn't heard from him. I went to the house, and it was completely empty. Everything was gone, and that's the last time I'd heard from him.
What made you decide to pursue the 2-year-old broken mirror on your car?
Because in October he was still saying once he was waiting on an insurance settlement from an accident last March when he got run over by a truck.
Did you fix this mirror on your car?
The mirror I did fix. It was undrivable with it broken.
And how much did it cost to fix the mirror?
It was $140.
And how much is the windshield?
$242. $30. I have pictures of that.
I'd like to see it. Let's hear about this side mirror in February of 2002, sir.
I don't know anything about that. And when I come home from Indiana, I did call her, and I would go over to her house, and we would sometimes drink and watch TV or hang out on the porch and just talk about, at that time she was seeing Lance, a boyfriend of hers. And that night, I guess the night she's talking about, I don't remember driving her car home. So that's news to me. If I broke anything or ran into something, I would like to see evidence of that.
No, what she said was that you were pulling out of her driveway.
Impossible.
Why is it impossible?
I'd have to be in the driver's seat.
Yes. And you never drove her car?
I drove it on occasion, but not that night.
How do you know?
Because I know. I got out on the passenger side and went home.
You're talking about 2 years ago.
Exactly.
You remember 2 years ago?
I remember a lot of things. I got a good memory.
You're a smart aleck.
Maybe. I know if I was driving the car, I wasn't driving the car. I got out of the passenger side.
Mr. Do you see my mouth moving? When my mouth moves, yours doesn't. What do you do for a living?
Certified nursing aide.
Okay. Do you take care of elderly people?
Yes, I do.
Are you supposed to be kind and understanding when you take care of elderly people?
Yes.
And respectful?
Yes.
This is my space. Let's remember that. Have I said anything that was disrespectful to you so far?
No.
Have I said anything that was wise-alecky to you?
No.
Do you think you have said things that are disrespectful to me?
Probably.
Is there any particular reason for that, Mr. Holtmeyer?
Just nervous.
Well, sometimes when people are nervous, their palms sweat and they become quiet. So you mean when you're nervous, you become nasty? Is that what you're telling me?
I guess.
Clearly. When you're nervous, you become nasty. I would certainly hope that your employers will be watching this case so that they can ascertain what happens to you when you become under stress. February of 2002 is what you're telling me that you remember the night that she's talking about, and you were not driving the car.
Nope.
And nothing happened that night.
Not to my knowledge. I got out of the passenger side and went home that night. The same with the windshield. I got a call 2 days after the fact, and it said I broke her windshield. I said, I did what?
Maybe that's not too much to drink. Mr. Holtmeyer, I also think that the people who allow you to take care of older people should understand that when you have too much to drink, you don't remember things. And that could be a very dangerous thing when you're taking care of people who are infirm. The people who you work for are now on notice that that's, as far as I'm concerned, a real problem that you have. You owe her $382, sir, and that's $140 for her mirror and $242 from breaking her windshield. Both of those things I find that you did. Thank you very much. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $382. That's all.
You missed it out.
We've been very good friends for about 7 years. I've done a lot of things for him, numerous, and just apparently didn't know what kind of a person he was until now.
People perceive the wrong things when I first speak, and they assume.
I feel that he's dishonest, and I pretty much accident uses people.
Didn't do it.
Sometimes I'm just too nice and I get taken for granted.
8-year-old pharmacy technician Sandra Rowe is suing her ex-boyfriend, DJ Jeremy Cook, for breaking a lease, an unpaid loan, and the return of personal property.
Fine in the courtroom, please. All rise. That's case number 66 on the calendar in the matter of Raw versus Coke. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Roll, you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend, and you lived together. It is your claim that he owes you some money. You say he owes you some money from an old loan a couple of years ago, $940. You say he owes you for rent money because he moved out of an apartment that you shared together.
It was actually not from rent. It was from breaking the lease.
Money for breaking the lease.
Correct.
And for a washer and dryer that you say he took when he left.
Correct.
Mr. Coke says that he never borrowed any money from you 2 years ago, that you were in a live-in relationship, you exchanged money back and forth, and he has no idea what you're talking about with regard to a specific loan.
I have been...
That you told him to leave the apartment because you were not getting along, and indicated to him that you were going to get a new roommate, so he doesn't owe you for rent, and that the washer and dryer was part of a lease enhancement when you moved into an apartment several years ago.
Yes,
you didn't pay anything for it, so that he decided to take it, and it's his just as much as it is yours. That's his defense. So let's start with when you moved into this apartment together and when you signed the lease.
Well, the apartment that we moved in, when we got the washer and dryer.
I didn't ask you about the washer and dryer yet.
Okay. With the lease breaking fees, we moved in June of 03.
Okay.
And I have the lease
And
right
when
here.
did you, Miss Rawl? I want you to try not to speak over me, and I want you to try to listen to my questions and answer my questions.
Okay.
That way we're going to get along.
Okay.
When did he move out?
He moved out January 4th of this year.
Under what circumstances did he move out?
It was a mutual agreement. I had said when we broke up in September, I'm not going to make you leave, but I'm not going to make you stay. In December, I did start seeing someone else, and he said, I can't stay here anymore. And I said, if that's your decision. I was trying to find a roommate. I could not find anybody to live with me.
Just a second. So in December, you started to see someone else. Just give me the first name of this person.
It's Justin.
Justin. And when you started to see Justin, would Justin come to pick you up at the apartment?
Never when Jeremy was there.
I didn't ask you that question.
Yes, he did.
I didn't ask. Just answer my question. Did he come to pick you up in the apartment?
Yes.
Did he ever stay over in the apartment?
Yes, he did.
So he said to you, I can't be here under these circumstances, and you said to him, I will try to get a new roommate.
Yes, it was a mutual thing when he left. But I was trying to
Did
get...
you understand what I just said?
Yes, I was trying to get a roommate.
Good. Were you able to get a roommate?
No, I was not.
What about him?
He is in school and does not have the extra money to pay for half a rent. And the other friend that I was trying to get...
Just a second. After he moved out, be very, very careful how you answer this question.
Okay.
How long did you remain in the apartment?
10 days.
Until what date?
January 14th.
Where did you go on January 14th?
I moved in with my mother.
From January 4th till January 14th, how many nights did Justin stay in the apartment?
I want to say many, but I'm not positive exactly.
And on the 14th, how come you moved back to your mother's?
Because I could not find a roommate and I could not afford the apartment on my own.
So far, is that pretty much, did I get the information right on
Yes,
that
ma'am.
score?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's get to the money loaned. Tell me about the loan that you made to Mr. Koch.
There was a loan back in December of 2003 that he asked for. We were getting...
December of 2003?
I'm sorry, 2002. It was 2002. And we were getting ready to go on vacation, and he said, I don't want my truck to be repoed. I have 2 bank statements showing I had withdrawn some money. He said that's not enough. I then went to my savings account at the ATM and withdrew more money. And it was a total of $850.
Do you remember that, Mr. Koch?
No, ma'am. At least not like that.
How
He went
do you
with me.
Shh. How do you remember it?
She did give me some money. Like, we lived together for a while. We were trying to get enough money together to go to Florida to see her mother for Christmas. And insurance needed to be paid, and we needed stuff to get the rental car.
And this was in December of 2002?
Correct.
Did you, in fact, go to visit her mother in Florida in December of 2002?
Yes, we did. That's what that money was used for.
Both of you?
Correct.
How did you get there?
We had a rental car to drive down, and we flew back home.
I have 2 Delta tickets on my Capital One. I bought the tickets to pay for the trip.
Who paid for the rental car?
I also paid for the rental car.
Show me.
That was part of the money that I gave him that day.
Just a second. You paid for the airline tickets to go and see your mother.
Yes, I did.
And the money for the rental car was money that you now want back from him. Is that what you're telling me? Just answer my question, Miss Rawl. The money for the rental car is now money that you want back from him.
I gave him $850. It was to pay for his truck payments so that his truck did not get repoed, and it was also a little bit for the rental car because being under 25, I could not purchase the rental car. I could not do the renting.
How much of the money that you gave him, now you're telling me it was $850, right?
It was
not $940 that you originally indicated. How much of the $850 was for the rental car?
It was a little under $100.
How do you know that?
I don't have any documentation. He took care of all of that. I have statements.
Now let's talk about the washer and dryer. What?
Excuse me, the $90 that on top of the $840 to make $850 to make $940 was for $90 she lent him at Christmas time for his son.
We went to a game store and he said, I don't have the money for this. Will you lend me the money for this until after Christmas when I can pay you back? Being a child's Christmas, I said, yes, I will do this for you.
Oh, you know something? I don't believe you.
Okay.
I don't believe that that's the way a woman responds to the man that she's living with. Christmas time. Being that you don't have the money, I will lend you the $90 so that you can buy your child a Christmas present. Just doesn't have a ring of truth. Listen to me. It just doesn't have a ring of truth to it. 2 years ago.
We had to buy Christmas twice.
Listen to me. It doesn't have a ring of... That conversation doesn't have a ring of truth to it, Miss Rawl.
Okay, that's what happened. All I can do is tell you what happened.
Okay. Who are you?
I'm Sandy's mom.
You weren't there.
I kind of was. She was trying to explain.
No, you weren't there. Were you?
Yes, I was.
You were there when she gave him $90? Step up. Tell me where you were when she gave him $90 Christmas time.
I was in Columbus at the time because she had to pay. They had to get Christmas twice because they were broken into.
Listen to me. Were you there when she gave him $90?
Not physically in front of him.
Now you can sit down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says ex-boyfriend Jeremy Koch owes for breaking a lease. Jeremy says Sandra was dating another man.
Now tell me about the washer dryer.
We moved into an apartment and we received a free washer and dryer. When I moved to Florida, he kept them in the apartment and then moved down to Florida and brought them with him. When he moved back to Ohio in January, I said, you owe me money from, many, money that I lent you, the $850 that I lent you for your truck. He said, I don't have it for you. Why should I give it to you? You lent that to me. That's your fault. And I said, well, then leave me the washer and dryer. And he said, I don't want you to be here when I pack up the U-Haul. When I came back, the washer and dryer were gone. And I have this showing mine and his name on it, showing that we received a free washer and dryer. And I believe they are half mine.
Which half do you want?
Just something for it.
No. Which half do you want? The washer or the dryer?
It doesn't matter.
I come to you now.
Yes, ma'am.
Mostly I want you to tell me about the washer and dryer. What makes you think that you are entitled to the washer and dryer?
It was agreed that I was going to take the washer and dryer.
No, it was not.
Shh, don't speak. You see how quiet he was when you were talking? Don't speak. Tell me how it was agreed, Mr. Koch.
The apartment we were living in Florida had a washer and dryer that was part of the unit. So the washer and dryer that we acquired together in the apartment prior to were sitting in the spare room. Me knowing that I was going to need them down the road since the apartment I was going to move into doesn't come with a washer and dryer like hers does. She already had it. She didn't need them.
So it already had a washer dryer?
Correct.
Go ahead.
And so when I left, I didn't just sneak those out. As a matter of fact, her mother was there when I loaded them up. And
why do you think, Mr. Koch, that she sued you?
Honestly, she's desperate for money. They're hurting.
Why?
Well, to my understanding, her mother has lost her job and money's tight. So she's coming.
When you were living together for the 2 years that you lived together, how did you pay your bills, Mr. Koch? Did you have a joint account ever?
No, we did not.
So how was the rent paid, for instance?
My checks. Through my checking account.
And she would give you money?
Correct. And sometimes she would write a check and I would give her money.
So it was sort of a fluid thing, but you maintained separate accounts?
Right. Okay. But most of the time, especially in Florida, I paid the majority of the rent.
How come?
I made a little bit more money.
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm a DJ, and I was doing side jobs.
Okay, so there was never any fixed amount that somebody would pay?
Not on a steady basis. I mean, it was agreed when we moved in, we'd split it 50-50, but it hardly ever worked out that way.
Hardly ever does.
If she needed help, I helped her. If I needed help, she helped me. That's
okay.
Part. I mean, I loved her. That's why.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I have an electric bill that was from the last month that he was in the apartment in Ohio. He never paid it.
When was that?
That was he moved out May 20th.
May 20th, what year?
Of last year.
And then you moved back together again in another apartment?
Correct.
Listen, Miss Rowe.
And I asked...
Miss Rowe, you have to grow up. You really have to grow up. You cannot expect this young man, after having been in a relationship with you for 2 years, to tolerate living in a situation where you are bringing another young man into the home as your boyfriend. I'm speaking. Put it down. Staying over in the apartment, whether he's there or not. I would say the same thing if you had decided to separate and said, okay, we're going to live out the terms of this lease, If you find somebody else, if I find somebody else, we won't bring them into the apartment. We won't have them staying over here. We won't do anything to exacerbate the situation. And if he brought women into the apartment and stuck that in your face, I would say, you don't have to tolerate that and you can move. I'm saying the same thing to you. You can't do that and then expect him to tolerate it and feel like a moron and expect him to pay you for breaking the lease. So you get zero money for breaking the lease. Now let's get to this loan baloney. 2 years ago, you say you gave him, first in your sworn statement, $900 and some odd. Then you tell me it was a little less. There's no writing of it, and you just took money out of the account. He tells me that part of that was for a trip to go and visit your mother Christmas time in Florida. And question, you say, well, yeah, that's true. Part of it went to pay for a rental car. Part of it went to pay for his truck. And there was an exchange of money when you were living together. I believe him when he says sometimes he made a little more, sometimes maybe you contributed a little bit more. That's what happens when people live together. And if it doesn't work out, you don't come into court like a crybaby and complain. As far as the washer and dryer, put your hand down. As far as the washer and dryer is concerned, sir, what do you want her to have, the washer or the dryer?
I'll take the washer.
Good. You may have the dryer. You have to make arrangements to pick it up. 5 days from today, the dryer is to be ready between 12 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you are not there between 12 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, consider the dryer forfeited. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. That's the end. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I said, make friends. Go, please. Make friends. Find a girl. Please move on.
I'm still in pain. I mean, I think about her constantly. I was going to spend the rest of my life with this woman, and now I'm here doing this.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of win versus get on. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Tawny Nguyen is suing her former landlord, speech teacher Sylvia Guerrero, for the return of her $450 deposit and for the value of stolen property. Sylvia is countersuing for the remainder of the lease.
Ms. Nguyen, you're a university student?
Yes.
And according to your complaint, you rented a room from the defendant?
Yes.
And she rents rooms to several students?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she wrongfully evicted you from
Yes.
the room, that she should pay for that wrongful eviction,
Yes.
a whole bunch of expenses. In addition, it's because of her negligence that some property of yours was stolen out of the house. You wanted to pay for that. And you wanted her to pay for the return of your security deposit.
Yes.
Ms. Guerra says that she tried to be nothing but nice to you, that nothing of yours was stolen from the house. As a matter of fact, because of your negligence, property was taken from the rest of the house. She believes you should be responsible for that. And in addition, she is suing for the remainder of the rent that you owe her under your lease. So she's counterclaiming. When did you sign a lease for the room?
January 28th, 2004.
Can I see the lease, please?
Yes.
When did you move out?
I moved out on March 7th. So the problem was she had made the 10 o'clock rule that no guests could come in after 10 o'clock. So I had my boyfriend come in one time with me at 10:30, and Ms. Guerra had a problem with it, and I said, I'm sorry, I will never do that again. But the main problem was that my boyfriend was left at my in my room for 2 hours on Wednesday on March 3rd. That's when Ms. Guerra got upset and pulled me aside and told me that she didn't appreciate the fact that my boyfriend was there alone by himself. And Ms. Guerra started using obscene languages at me and calling me names. Then my boyfriend interfered and told her to stop talking to me like a mom, like even less than a mom. And Ms. Guerra started fighting with my boyfriend. Then she turned to me and said that I had 3 days to move. And this is what she gave me, the 3-day notice to perform conditions or quit. Saturday, I gave her the letter saying that upon your restated conditions, I would like to stay and perform the conditions to fulfill my contract.
You say, well, I'm going to comply with the terms that you indicate in the lease that I should have been complying with all along. But if you have a problem with it, you may choose to end the lease. And my obligation under the lease will also end. So what you're doing is covering yourself, which is very smart. You say, I'll leave, but if I leave, I'm not going to be responsible for any more rent. Right?
Yes.
All right, Miss Guerra, let's move on.
She acknowledged that it was uncomfortable for all the other females in the house to have her boyfriend staying there when she wasn't there, day and night, him entering all hours of the night through the back door. And she would not agree to stop doing that. So she had to choose to either stop doing that or leave.
Actually,
I will, and she signed this agreement that I will leave on Sunday, March 7th at 10 p.m. This will leave no obligation or financial responsibility on my part to fulfill the lease agreement, which ends September 1st. Tenant, she signed it and you signed it. So why, madam, are you here?
Because she would not give me the deposit money back, and also the money that I had lost during the burglary for totaling $750.
Okay, so let's talk about the burglary first.
Yes.
Ms. Guerra said that the house was in fact burglarized, but it was burglarized because of your negligence in leaving the back door open. She also says, and listen to me very carefully, you say you lost $750 worth of property, is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Guerra said that she has a document, she said this in her answer, that says otherwise. May I see it, please?
I also have...
I didn't ask you for anything yet.
Let me turn to the right page. This is the police report.
Okay, can I see it, please? The method of entry for this burglary was a house unlocked. They came in through the back door?
Yes.
Unlocked, and that's your door. Is
No,
that
that's
right?
not my door. That's everybody else's door. Just because she gave me the key to come in late at night does not mean that it's only my door.
But she gave you the key to come into the back door late at night. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Am I correct that this burglary occurred on the 17th of February, 2004?
Yes.
And am I correct that you reported items missing some 2 months later on April 6th, 2004?
Actually...
Just answer my question.
Yes.
You reported it to the police after you were evicted?
Yes, because...
Get real. Okay. Now, why can't she have her security deposit back, $450?
Because she did not pay rent for March, and I found somebody that came in April 1st who's paying less rent, so I'm also losing each month by her not fulfilling her lease agreement.
You have a counterclaim that's nonsense. Okay. You signed an agreement with the plaintiff that if she moved out, you were releasing her from any terms and conditions under the lease. So how could you now file for a claim for $3,000 for the money left remaining under the lease? How can you do that when you signed an agreement saying if you go, I'm holding you harmless? How can you do that?
I figured since we were all suing each other, if she was suing me, I would just sue her for what we also had in writing.
Think again.
Okay.
Think again. I don't like to be bothered.
Okay.
You are what?
I believe that the item stolen from my room is what happened, and I do not have the police report right away because she had promised me that she would call the police to do that for me. And when
That's too bad. If I believe you, it's too bad, and I don't believe you. I believe that you set up this additional lawsuit in April, 2 months after the incident, and after you were evicted, and she didn't return your security deposit. Put your hand down. And after she didn't return your security deposit, a month after she didn't return your security deposit, you decided to make a whole big lawsuit.
I had no choice. She made me sign the paper.
Grow up. Listen, give her back $300 of her security deposit. She did, in fact, live there for a full week in March. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.